Good evening, everybody. Merry Christmas to you all. I hope you're all having a wonderful time. This is the first podcast for a little while, but this will be our Christmas special. And we are joined today, kindly, by Richard Lannen, rhymes with Cannon, of Glazing Insider. Evening, Richard.
Good evening. Thank you for having me.
And we have, as always, Leopold of Barnsley. How are you?
Merry Mitmas, everyone.
Merry Mitmas. We've all donned some Christmas attire, so I've got my brand new, let's point this down, Ainsley Harriott memeified Christmas jumper. Yeah, boy. Richard, you've got your on-brand Glazing Insider Christmas hat, and Lee has gone for, I can't see in the bad light, Chewbacca
in Christmas light.
Chewbacca and his winter hat because it's Barnsley, it's cold, and he's not paid his energy bills in his house. So that's where Lee is. So Merry Christmas, everybody. Where's my phone? So if you've walked off with my phone, we're going to wait. Oh, Michael Hagan's already here in the chat. Good evening, Michael. We don't do this on a Monday usually, Lee, do we?
No, it's a very, very rare thing, a Monday podcast. Usually on a Friday when we can get drunk, but
it's not a normal Monday. It's the pre-Christmas Monday, so it feels like a Friday. So we're going to drink like it's a Friday, even though I'm driving to work tomorrow. So, how's things with you, Richard? Merry Christmas to you.
Yeah, Merry Christmas to you. Yeah, all good, all good. What about you?
I am looking forward to a break, as I'm sure everybody is.
Yeah, it's definitely that's the vibe I'm getting from everyone at the moment.
It's been a long, hard year, but I think everyone deserves a break. And what is it? 2 weeks I think we have off, roughly. So I'm going to pour myself a beer. Richard's on the cider. And Lee is playing Father Christmas tomorrow, aren't you, Lee?
I am. Off to drop some prezzies off to Derbyshire Witch and Catch up in Leeds.
So they are every year we or Lee rather coordinates a huge charitable effort for a couple of kids' charities where companies kindly donate to that cause. I'm able to deliver a ton of presents to various kids' charities each year. So, respect to Lee for that because it's a big
fantastic.
effort.
Presents this year. Do you know what? We don't usually do this, but I'm gonna shout out to people who donated because I think it's great of them. So, no particular order. Karma
Design.
Thank you very much. The guys at Selector. Thank you. CNC Recycling. Thank you very much. Thermoseal. I don't know whether Sam and Mark will be on later.
They'll be in a couple of minutes, I'm sure. They'll be notified that we're live now, I think.
Linear. Thank you very much to Linear. Hallmark Panels. The guys at VBH, they'll probably be on later. Vitrine, Aluminium. I don't know if they're going to make it or not. He sent me a picture. If he don't come, I'm going to be disappointed. He were on his gaming chair. It looks like he's got a good gaming setup, though.
Has he finished then for work?
I know, but he was sat playing his gaming.
They weren't working then.
What were he playing? He was playing.
Who's that, Paul?
Paul, yeah, Paul Fradley, Fradders.
Was he a Twitcher?
Does he do Twitch, Lee?
I've no idea. He just sent me a picture when I said, "Are you coming up podcast?" But he looked like you were. He's got a good setup. He's got 2 screens and stuff, and got some detail.
Good lad.
So VB8, Vitrine, Colour Seal, Debs at Colour Seal, thank you.
Be a moment.
GQA, qualifications, and Made for Trade, Corniche. So thank you to all of them for helping us by all them presents. It goes a long way. It's absolutely brilliant for kids' charities. So
It makes a difference. It makes a huge difference. So,
Thank you for that, everyone.
It does. So, usually in the run up to the end of a year, it's quite quiet. There's not much to talk about. It's all nice and chilled and everything winds down. Not this year. We have Christmas. The Omicron variant of Christmas has come to greet everybody, which we won't go heavy on because everyone's about as pissed off with that as everybody. So we won't go too heavy on that. And building regs, which again is a very dry subject, but will affect everyone. We might touch on that for a moment or two. But we'll try and talk about the football that won't happen because of Omicron. And we'll try and talk about everything else that won't happen because of Omicron. Have you seen, Richard Lee, that the Premier League intend to play their festive calendar, despite the fact 6 out of 10 matches over the weekend were cancelled?
And they didn't let Chelsea cancel theirs, although they had 7 or 8 cases.
Who's your team, Rich?
Spurs.
Oh. Thoughts on the Harry Kane tackle?
Where do you start?
Yeah,
that
where do you start?
Halfway down his shin with his studs up.
Nah, we're after the ball.
They were both bad tackles.
There's always 2 sides to every story, isn't there?
There is. There were nearly 2 halves to 1 leg as well.
Oh, well, that's the downside, and that would have been expensive. That's the main thing, which is probably why they still want to go ahead. It's to do with, it's got to be the money that's involved. There's a lot of sponsorship money that be given back.
But the thing is, if the matches are going to be cancelled, like it's all right them say, yeah, we're going to go ahead and play the games. There's no guarantee you can do that because look at all the games that have had to be cancelled last couple of weekends. Just because you intend to play them doesn't mean you're actually going to play them.
Yeah, that's true.
Carlisle
yes.
have dropped their capacity under 10,000 to avoid having to do.
There's a lot of clubs that seem to be doing that.
They reduce the capacity under health and safety rules to avoid COVID checks.
Well, I'm a Bradford fan. Our stadium holds 25, and I know we're not amazing, but we still do get regularly over 15,000 in.
I thought you were going to say over 15
people. It's felt like that some days.
Hey, listen, I've been reading an article talking about Bradford. I was going to leave it until later.
Oh yeah.
I've been reading an article on there's a crypto funding.
Oh God, no! Don't even get me started on that.
That are looking at investing in.
Yeah, I know. Well,
and they don't understand football, so they're getting a bit of grief. But yeah,
it's a. I don't. You might not have seen this, Rich. So it's an American. It's American in Italy.
Yeah, an American investment fund
that deals with crypto want to buy either us or another team.
Oh,
buy us if they want.
But the problem is, I'm okay with it. But a lot of our fans and fans of a certain age will just not get it. And I think they'd want to come in and perhaps allow you to buy tickets with Bitcoin or buy merch with Doge or whatever. And I don't know. I'm okay with it, but I can imagine, Jim, who's 75, who just wants a pie and a pint, will not get it at all.
But are they thinking of going? As long as they can still play with pounds, they'll be fine.
I think our concern is, as a club,
Richard, you don't understand Bradford. They're paying in shillings still.
They've only got their debit cards machines.
Like a call and swap it for a ticket.
We've only just moved away from not having to sign for stuff.
Instead of taking check.
There's no pies at half time. It's ration supplies. You have to hand in your ration ticket.
To be fair, if you walked around the stadium, it is literally, it's not been the houses have not been touched since World War Two. It's like row after row of terraced houses. It is like stepping back in time. But I think our concern as a club is, are we worried about how inflows are going to be? Is it going to be in pounds or is it going to be in crypto? Is it going to be both? Do we even have the infrastructure to do that? Because we're a League Two club, we're not Premier League. So I don't know. We since we had that run of form a few years ago where we won everything, we've had a lot of interest from a lot of different parties, but they seem to be quite wild and different. They're not like your regular sort of rich people takeover types. But there we go.
It depends on if they see it as a business or just a status thing. They just want
If
to
they don't get the football, it will be a business thing. But there seems to be a trend where, because Ryan Reynolds has bought Wrexham along with somebody else, again, a very low level club. But there seems to be this, and I suspect maybe what's happening is investors are looking at lower league clubs as projects and going, well, I can't buy into the Premier League anymore and the Championship's too expensive, but let's look at League 1 and 2 because over 10 or 15 years we might be able to achieve something there.
Yeah. They're not afraid of the work.
No.
So interesting.
I don't know.
We've got Mark Calpin and Marky Cox on Facebook, by the way, so just keep an eye on that.
No problem. Someone's trying to voice call me on WhatsApp at 10 past. No, that ain't happening.
Marky Cox is with us, Mark Calpin. I think we've got Ducky. We've got Michael. I don't know who else is with us.
Nicola's watching. John's watching on FaceTube. John
who?
John Vanstone, JV.
Hi, John. Evening, John.
So we've got quite we're doing all right for a Monday pre-Christmas.
Stop as a comment. Say hello.
So before we get onto the heavy stuff, Richard, I know you've done this for I reckon half the year, but I wanted to ask both of you, what would be your moment of the year? What would be your standout point of this year for UK Fenestration? What was the absolute moment for you? Was it like a takeover, or was it the end of a lockdown, or what would you say would mark this year for you?
That's a good question. I'll let Lee go first and see what he says.
Go on, Lee. What will be your standout point of this year?
It's a good question.
I'm going to be totally honest with you. I think there hasn't been a massive standout point of the year for me.
Really?
I think there's been that much going on and everybody's been that busy that I don't think anything exceptional, and this is me being honest, I don't think anything exceptional sticks out in my mind this year. I think it's been a year of consolidation. I'm not saying there's not some new things going on.
No.
But there's not been a big shouting match going on in the industry of we're doing this, we're doing that. I think the industry has just been kind of battening down the hatches and getting on with what they needed to get through this year.
So rather than...
down for me is the resilience of the industry, I guess. Not any one particular moment, just the resilience of what everyone's had to just get on with all the problems. Because you look at what we've had this year, the start of having to change things over with Brexit at the start of the year, COVID ongoing, you've then got your supply chain issues that have been going on, the restrictions that have been in and out pretty much all year. I think everyone's just had their heads down, so I can't really pinpoint anything.
Okay, so maybe that's a bit unfair. So rather than... Okay, so I'll ask you this. This year, Richard, has been, and I agree with Lee, a year of sort of every exceptional circumstance has happened at once. So rather than do we say there's been a standout moment, can we just mark this year in itself as an absolutely unique year where we've all had to deal with all these problems, which in and of itself, if one of them happened, it would be a problem. Like Lee said, we've had the transition from Brexit, we've had supply chain disruption, we've had demand crippling supply chains, we've got COVID restriction. One of those things on its own would be bad enough, wouldn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
And we've had all of it happen all at the same time. So
one thing that I think, and I hope the industry doesn't lose track of how good we've had it. There's a lot of industries that are on the backsides with what's happened over the last 18, 20 months.
yeah,
And I think sometimes when you're busy and you're stressed, you lose sight of how good this industry have had it throughout COVID. And I'm not saying it's been easy, because it hasn't, and no one's had it easy. But I think we're a very lucky industry that we've been able to continue, not just continue, but excel in business.
We're in a small niche of industries that have benefited from the circumstances because people have had to spend their money differently. That may not continue next year. So, when we're moaning and bitching about things not being so good next year, we need to remember these past 2 years where things have been exceptional for us.
I mean, I've got a lot of friends, as you know, in travel industry still working, or
they must be.
got business.
Oh, yeah.
Whether they're bar owners, restaurant owners, whether they've got sports stuff on the beach, whether they've got apartments and villas that they're letting. They've been decimated. I mean, they've got nothing. They're hanging on for dear life, and that's not all right. That's the other end. That's the exceptional end. But there's a lot in the middle that have had to struggle all the way through these last 18, 20 months. And I think, like I said, we're a very lucky. We're very fortunate to have been in the position that we're in, and I think sometimes you can lose track of that, because we all love a moan. We all love a moan, but I think we've got to look back and see it as it's been a resilient year. There has been a lot of challenges because of how busy it's been, but I think we've done well as an industry.
How would you see this? How would you sum up this year, Rich?
I was just thinking that, listening to everyone in the industry this year, I think they really do appreciate that they have been given this blessing. And I think they've shown that by absolutely working their asses off to the point where everyone needs their break. They're trying to make hay while the sun shines, because they're not stupid. They know next year this could all change, and it might be the turn for the tourism to come back, and the restaurants might come back. And then it means the home improvement industry will be down. And I think literally there's companies out there that really push themselves to the point where it was a toss up between whether they actually invest, do they put the money in, or do they just keep it and stockpile the money and just wait and see what happens next year. So I know some companies have done really well to the point where they've invested this year, or they're trying to make their supplies better for next year because it's still ongoing. But I think most companies have really, really done well just to keep going. And they've really, I mean, hopefully it all continues next year, but yeah, just a break and then go back to it. And I think we can cope with that, but it's just about being smart. So I think you're right. It has just been a moment for the whole year, and I think everyone appreciates it, but they do need a break.
I've never met so many tired, pissed off, some depressed. I've got to be honest. This year has taken its toll on a lot of people, and the one thing I've always said is, as people say, it's all, you've doubled your turnover and you've made this money, and it's like, yeah, but if you're only sleeping 5 hours a night, you're stressed out, pissed off, and worrying all the time about winds and doors. Is that success worth the degradation of your life, your living standards? And I would say no. I think that was just the plate we were handed, that higher demand. And yes, we've got to appreciate what we're being given. But I suppose for next year, I would urge anybody watching this back saying, don't take next year so seriously. Take it as it comes. We're not saving the world. They're only windows. There's a lot of people who need a reset over Christmas, who need to come back to work and just not have the same amount of pressure next time. Because you got to remember, we've been doing this since May last year.
Yeah. 1st of June when we went, it just hasn't been.
We haven't done this for a year. We've done this for 18 months.
Yeah.
So,
and the whole world's just changed. Everyone's got different expectations now. Everyone needs a holiday, and that includes customers, and they're trying to work out what they want to do. And the houses, I'm just imagining all these perfectly improved homes now. There's, everyone's got, unless they've been waiting, they're in a delay and they ordered later in the year and they're waiting until next year now. Yeah, it's...
We've got some comments coming in. So Marky Cox on the YouTube side. So most in window trade had record sales, but maybe not profits. Now that is a point I have raised privately with people.
Yeah.
You may have doubled your revenue, but you probably already doubled or maybe more than doubled your costs. So whether you're actually making more profit and knowing at installer level how much prices have gone up, it's very likely a lot of people have increased sales, but they've not increased profitability. Wait until true inflation figures come out and interest rates go up again. Yes, we have. Yeah, inflation is going to be. I think it's going to be a killer next year. I don't think we've seen the end of how high this inflation is going to be. And you're only young once. Make it while you can. I agree, Mark. But also there has to be some balance. I don't care how young or old you are. You only live once, indeed. And I would hate to think at 50 anybody's in a totally degraded state of health, but they sold some more windows. Health, happiness. If you can make a load of money on the way whilst maintaining that, great. If not, don't worry about it. And Ian Duck is saying travel abroad not looking likely in 2022. No, Omicron has put paid to that.
Yeah. So it could be a lot of holiday homes being improved in the UK.
How many caravan windows can we sell, Rich, between all of us?
We have to switch. Yeah. Sit over to
I tell you what, Britain has benefited from domestic tourism, yeah? But it became painfully clear how little we'd invested in our coastal regions in the last 30 years. Because you couldn't park anywhere. You go to Scarborough, you go to Devon, you go to Scotland. Every bloody thing's full.
There's people at coastal areas who hire the gardens out for car parks. They've been doing it for years in places like Skegness, and they make a fortune. Honestly, I was talking to one person who did it. It got 2 houses next to each other, big, huge gardens and driveways, and you could fit about 150 cars on it.
How big's the gardens?
You're talking the huge houses, but it fitted about 150 cars on. You turned it into a car park throughout the season, and they were charging £4 to £7 a day.
And were they full?
All the time.
Wow. We're in the wrong game. we need to buy a car park. Wow.
All the time. Never not full.
That's insane. But no, I mean, like I said, we went to the coast.
And they priced it a couple of £3 under what it had cost in a normal car park.
But if you went to any tourism sites, I mean, I don't know where it's close to you, Rich, where you live. But all the domestic places we went for days away or weekends away, because we're not used to that level of domestic tourism, it was far too full.
Yeah, it was. We've got Western nearby, but Weymouth was always a place we used to go, and that was interesting because for the Olympics they upgraded all of their roads going into Weymouth. So be interesting to see if that can cope with it, because they were ready for the Olympics, and that made a massive difference just having wider roads going in. So, but again, they had to allow for parking as well. But sometimes they start using it back up again, don't they? Once they design things for the Olympics, or gets converted over into something else, but that would be a place where we would go and see how that's worked out.
Ian Duckworth in the comments: Omicron Airways grounded. Yes. Yes, very much. On a serious note, I don't want to dwell on this. My parents are meant to be going away on the 30th. To Barbados. A holiday that's been put off for quite
December.
a while.
Wow.
Yeah. Some of the leaks of potential restrictions, government was saying, looking like step 2 of the roadmap earlier in the year. Step 2 included a ban on foreign travel.
Does that mean they need to go now?
Well, they don't fly till the 30th. They can't fly sooner. So,
They can get into the country, they'd be fine for the holiday. They just got to find somewhere to stay for an extra
I
week or so.
just...
I did it last year. I knew it would come in, so I went a week early.
yeah. Yeah,
Oh, being trapped in Barbados, never be able to come back. That'll put pressure on you, Jason, for the new year. But
Bugger
I'm sure
that,
they'll
I'll
have
go
a
with
great
them.
time.
No, I'm going with them. If I'm going to be stuck anywhere, I'm going to be stuck over there. I don't want to be stuck here.
Work from home, as long as you've got internet. You still send quotes.
Listen, on the beach, I've always said this to Lee. I said, there's nothing. All right, I'd have to give up selling windows, but I could do my online side from anywhere in the world. Sat on a beach, drinking a beer.
Hey, hold on. We've had a conversation earlier about going to Portugal after Christmas Day, and then you said, no, I don't want to get stuck.
Yeah, but mate, with all due respect, if I'm going to get stuck somewhere, I'm going to get stuck in Barbados before I get stuck in Portugal.
You're too picky.
Too picky. Damn right. I had holiday in 2 years. I'm very picky. But no, on a serious note, I think, yeah, I'm not quite sure my mum and dad are going to be able to get away on that one.
That's going to be another pushback then.
Yeah, they've got insurance, but they don't really care about that. They just want to go.
Yeah.
They just want to go.
That's interesting about their insurance, because I don't know about you two, but we renewed some insurance the other day, and of course all the terms and conditions now exempts COVID.
You've got to get.
Does it?
There's only 2 or 3 companies now that cover COVID.
Hold on, what type of insurance are you renewing, Richard?
This was the Ethereum, so this was business interruption insurance.
Right.
So if it catches fire or it floods, they give you 2 years to basically get back to where you were. We had it for the year of COVID and we never used it, but when we renewed it, I said basically it's not in there, is it? Because that's the smart thing to do from an insurance point of view. And the broker was like, yeah, exactly. They've taken it out now.
So what have you done?
Well, you still need it. So basically, we still got interruptions. So again, if there is a fire or anything like that, you're covered. But if COVID, you'll basically be relying on either working out a way of making money, or it sort of worked out. We had the website and everything as well, so that helped. But if it had been any other company, I think you'd just be relying on whatever the government can help with, and that's it.
Can you not buy COVID cover from somewhere else?
Possibly, but I dread to think what it would cost, because the prices went up anyway. And this is my argument, because I said they'd up the prices because they're trying to claim back the money that they have paid out for COVID. And as a company that didn't do that, we were still punished. So we're sort of lost, but you still need it. And of course, as you know, you never know how good your insurance is until you need it. So you just end up paying this money and hope for the best that you don't need it.
I mean, well, yeah, it's...
I've got an issue with. I used to work in insurance, in accident and healthcare, and I've had insurances. I try not to have it unless I really need it. I try not to have any insurance, because there's an habit with insurance companies of doing exactly what you've just said. As soon as anything becomes needed, and I'll give pet insurance as an example. I had 2 dogs. And we were paying a reasonable amount just in case we needed it, Labradors. And I wasn't, even though I'd worked in insurance, I wasn't sure that pet care worked like this. But the older the dogs got, the more it went up. And then when it got to a certain age, they then reduced the cover. So for the things that Labradors were going to fall foul of, the back leg problems, arthritis, they wiped it all out. So I'd been paying all them years to cover that. And then when it got to the time when I was going to use it, they just erased off of the policy. And it's scary how easy they can change things to suit the needs. I know you need insurance for some certain things, but I think not that people are smart enough or have got the will to do this, but you're better off putting the money away every month for years and just keeping it for a rainy day.
That's what we do for appliance insurance, because for that exact reason.
You've got to be very disciplined to do something like that, but you're never gonna win unless you're a serial claimer.
Yeah, that's true.
I
Yeah.
guess some people are, but yeah, it's I don't like insurance.
Try getting insurance for 2 chinchillas. Impossible.
See, I told you
wow.
we'd end up talking about chinchillas and hamsters.
Yeah, there you go. What's that? 32 minutes in. There you go.
32 minutes in, we had problems with one before he died, and it was cheaper. The insurance were going to cost us £200 a month because it was classed as exotic pets. No one would insure them. £200 a month. £2,400 a year. The stuff we needed to try and save the one that we lost was £800. So it's a lot of money, but it's still cheaper than it would have been to pay the insurance.
Yeah.
So
exotic pets. Talking about exotic pets, did I ever tell you a story about when when I had my trade TV and my business account got hacked?
no.
Some money came out of my account.
I feel like there's a terrible dad joke at the end of this. Go on.
No, it's not a joke. No,
all right, okay.
And so I rung bank up, and there were two. It was something like, I can't remember the exact amount, maybe £800 and £600. Two amounts had come out, and it was a pet shop in Birmingham. And I'm like, I've no idea what this is, but obviously we don't use a pet shop. We're a media company, and somebody had cloned the card in Dublin when I went to a golf trip. One that Ducky had organised. I blame Ducky. When he were at Regalhead, I went on a golf trip and we'd done five countries. We'd done Ireland, Northern Ireland, Scotland, England, and Wales. We'd done 5 courses in 2 days, and we ended up going out in Dublin, and that's where it got cloned. And somebody had bought some like really exotic snake and something else, like a turtle or something. But rather than question them, the shop allowed them to send someone in a taxi to pick it up. So they just sent a taxi driver to go and pick it up, and they let it happen.
That's insane. Hold on.
To get money back. I managed to get it back, but yeah.
You did 5 golf courses in 2 days?
I think it were 2 days. Ducky will tell you. 2 days, I think it was.
How did you get around the UK in 2 days?
In 2 minibuses, it were cramped.
Hold on. So
playing then 3 courses on one day and 2 on the other.
So you must have done Northern Ireland and Ireland on day 1.
We started it. I'm trying to remember what order we did it. We did Scotland,
England and Wales.
and I think we did Cheshire. Then we went across. Which way do we do it? Ducky will tell you.
That seemed.
I can't remember.
Would it a full round of 18?
Yeah.
Poor.
How did you do that?
And drinked.
Well, yeah. Well.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have been standing for any of them after.
In Dublin, I can't remember much about that, which is probably why the card got cloned.
Hold on. So you started in Scotland. You came down to England.
And I forget the place, what it's called. Again, Ducky, are you still here? Ducky will tell you.
Yeah, I think Ducky's still here. Yeah.
Where they make, it was famous where they used to make old Pringle jumpers and stuff. They were famous for wool up in Scotland, where they do all the Pringle jumpers.
So you went from Scotland. No, so okay. Or Ducky in the comments. North Wales.
Oh, he's doing it.
North Wales, Penrith and Stranraer on day 1. Yeah, Michael saying he's sure it wasn't 2 courses in 5 days. That would be more realistic.
No, it were 2 days.
Wow. North Wales, Penrith and Stranraer on day 1, which meant you did Ireland and Northern Ireland on day 2.
We started about 4:30 in the morning in Scotland.
Oh, Jesus.
Never been bit so many times in my life that it was just...
Oh, Midgie Central. Midgie Central.
Started off in fog.
Do you know what we're going to do? Because there's quite a few people here watching, and for those who know... So, I think we need to give Rich just a minute or two just to explain who he is and what he does, because there'll be a lot of people watching who perhaps haven't come across him yet, and we always like to give people a little bit of a plug. So, Rich, if you want to just tell the lovely people who you are, what you do, and why you do it.
So, My name's Richard Lannen, rhymes with Cannon. There you go, got it in. A few months ago, what's the best way to explain this? I started making videos about double glazing, and I started this more like a hobby than anything, because I genuinely didn't think our industry was ready for videos. But after talking to lots of people, connecting with people like Jason and Lee, I now see that there's definitely a market for it, but it's something that I'm passionate about. Like most things, there's no money in it.
Preach.
That's why you need to be passionate about it. And it is a process. So yeah, I'm working towards trying to produce and make a video every week, ideally. And then I also have a podcast that I started about a month after the videos, and I'm really enjoying that as well. So it's an industry podcast. It's all about the people of the industry. Jason's been on. You never know. Maybe Lee will come on. He doesn't know about it yet, but maybe. And yeah, it's just a nice way of creating industry content, basically. And I think it's, I'm not the first person to make videos, because I've looked at everyone, and especially Lee, talking to, what you started and what
the
you're
trailblazer himself.
Exactly. So My Trade TV and that kind of thing has been around a while. But it's, as we've had that conversation, it's finding, I don't know, I think possibly we're coming to the time where we're ready to change. And I think with all of us coming together, I think that the potential is there to change the marketing of the industry. Maybe I think, yeah, I genuinely just started this with the idea that no expectations, and honestly, to build something like, even like what Jason's built with the blog, years is what you're allowing for. There's just no way around it. You've just got to put that time and effort in, and that is something that I come to terms with, and thought, okay, I'm now in a position where I can set aside the time to do this, and that's what I was allowing for. But it's being received very well, and connecting with people like you, and you're very supportive, and that's made a massive difference. I think there's a lot of people probably still don't understand half of what I'm doing or what anyone else is doing, and I think that'll be the case for a while. But I'm also starting to work with companies separately and with Glazing Insider as well, which is the exciting part, is sort of connecting things together, and we're sort of working out how we can work together. So I think that the interest is there, and there's a few companies that are ready, that they want to be different, they want to be first, they want to invest in a bit of content, really. So so yeah, that's sort of how I got into it, and
well, I think it's important that we recognize the people who are trying to enter the market or change things or do something different. I remember Ian give up. Evil man. I remember trying to break through with DGB, and I know the effort that's put in, and you just get so much more out of things if you can work together. And I think people who want to try to do something different need to be welcomed in rather than shunned. Because, as Richard says, we're at the precipice of change now. Things are changing. You can see it happening. We were talking off air before we came on. Richard mentioned time. Whatever you do, whether it's making videos, whether it's websites, whether it's social media stuff, it does require long-term dedication and effort. You will not skip to 15,000 followers in 6 months. It's going to take time to build up that audience. And Richard's at the start of that path, and I looked at what he did, and the quality of the videos were very good.
Thank you.
I think we need to be more supportive of the people who are trying to do things differently.
Well, yeah, and to be fair, I've had a lot of support. I think the people, anyone that doesn't understand, there's also a point where I did practice. So there is a story to this. I did practice YouTube before I started this channel. This isn't my.
Yes, you did, didn't you? I want to see that original video.
Yeah, that might come out at some point. There's some test videos out there as well. But I think, to be honest, I think there's a lot of people out there that want to make videos or do something like this. And I think half of the problem is they worry too much about what people think. And is it probably the same with all of you? Everyone in this chat, you've all, it's that initial, people will judge me for this, people will, and what I found is that's the hardest bit. If you could not worry about what people think, you'll get started. And I thought about this a lot because I didn't worry about starting Glazing Insider. I worried about first making that video that I uploaded to YouTube more than I did this.
Where's
I had
the
no
link to that, Richard?
expectation.
Where do we find that?
I'll find it one day. I'll send you a link. But you see, because I did it then, this was completely different. I just had no expectations. But the main thing is I didn't care. I was making these videos whether one person watched them or no one watched them. I was making them. And I think once people get that in their heads, that they won't get, some people are worried. They think they'll get negative comments and people saying horrible things to them. They might at some point, that, but in my experience, what you find is a lot of people you'll just say, well done. And the ones that, they've thought about it and they don't want to make videos, but they're really happy watching you on video.
Yeah.
Will send you compliments and they'll say, this is great, keep going. The ones that are unsure won't say anything. And the ones that want to do it will either not say anything or they'll say something nasty at some point. But it's one of those things. You've just got to upload something. It's never going to be perfect. And every video I upload, there's always a mistake. There's always something I want to change. And I'm sure Lee's had that as well. Where you just got to upload it, just got to do it. And then we'll improve it next time.
Do you know what the thing is, though, what you were saying there, Richard, about, and I've seen this from others, and Lee takes the mick, but I know Richard agrees with me. You know Ryan Serhant is on YouTube, don't you,
Yes,
Richard?
yeah.
Okay, so
love Ryan.
I watch. I think he's amazing. He's totally transformed. Doing what he's doing, he's transformed how you sell luxury property.
Yeah.
But one of the things he said is, it pretty much mirrors what you've just said, is just get started. Just start. Don't worry. If you spend your time worrying about this, worrying about that, saying this, saying that, or worrying if your video's too polished or not polished enough, just get started. Because if you don't and you keep putting it off, it'll just never happen. And that's the thing in any, whether it's making a video, whether it's writing, whether it's selling windows or starting a new business or whatever, just start, and it'll progress from there.
I've got. This is quite a big subject. We're probably going to speak about this for quite a while because I've had a theory about this since coming into video. Well, no, in marketing in general for a long time, but especially in video, even more so in video. Right? Content in general is a lot of the time not done properly without anything exciting. It's done very blandly because people are scared to death of doing anything out of the norm. Now, you can simplify that, as you just have, Richard, and you can say people are scared of making a mistake. People are scared of going on camera. I don't like going on camera myself. People don't like going on camera. People find it hard. They have to look at.
I hated it at first. Hated it.
That's a simplified version. Okay, but I'm going to go a step further here. I'm going to go deep into this and content in general, because I think you've got something there, Richard. You and people like Karma Design are looking at content in a different way. And it's not just video for me, right? And this is what I researched when I set up My Trade TV way back when. And I went to companies, and this is what you're going to struggle with. This is what you've got to get past. And it's very hard to change people's minds. Is I said to them, you need to stop thinking about what you want to say and say what your viewers want to hear. Show them what they want to know. Now, from a corporate point of view, that doesn't always flow into their content. They want to play it safe. They don't want to be talking, right? We're dealing with installers. Now, this is not a slight on installers, but most installers aren't going to sit here some are, but most aren't going to sit here all day talking about the industry. They go home, they've got hobbies, they've got interests. And if you don't capture their market and their idea of what's good, and it It might incorporate doing something a little bit silly. It might incorporate gaming. It might incorporate sport. It might incorporate whatever it is.
Christmas
Whatever it
jumpers.
is. Christmas jumpers. But the fact is, people are scared of moving away from corporate style content, and they always have been. And this is a marketing content problem, not just video. And until people start looking at what the audience wants to see rather than what their corporate image is, no one's going to get the correct messaging out, and no one's going to excite the market. And that, for me, is why you struggle to get many views. None of the industry videos have got many views because they're all the same. All the video we've done videos for hundreds of videos. You can put about 4 styles to them all.
Well, look at the bigger brands, how they deviate from whether they're sports brands or food brands or tech brands. The product isn't necessarily the thing they're trying to push, but they're grabbing people's attention because they're talking about something else.
Yeah.
And subtly working in what they do. I've seen phone adverts before. I'd not even talk about phones till right to the very end. But your thing's been captured. Your imagination's been captured because you're talking about, I don't know, social stuff, going on holiday or sport, like whatever. And then, oh, by the way, we sell a phone. But they're already engaged because they've hit you with something that you're interested in.
They're providing value, and this is the thing that a lot of companies, anyone I've talked to in the last month and the next year, is basically the conversation is whether we like it or not. Every company has to be a media company these days. It's whether you're making your products, but if you just take that seriously and make some valuable content, if it's entertaining, educational, sometimes you can get it right and it's both. That's what you need to be producing. And then you won't have to worry about sponsoring things and worrying about adverts. It will be the place where people will come anyway. And you're right, Jason. Then once in a while, we just mention, oh, by the way, we sell phones or we sell windows.
Look at Ryan Serhant. What you've just said there is what he said. He said, whatever you're selling, you're also a media company because you have to market what you're selling, whether it's a product or a service. Now, what he does, and is now becoming wildly popular on YouTube, is house tours.
I know, so that's what you want to do.
He started, he did a vlog showing sort of his daily life and but he also used to do house tours. Oh, by the way, I sell houses. Now, he's touring someone else's house, but because he's inspiring other people to watch, the sales he's getting through to his own agency by touring other people's houses have gone through the roof. So it's realizing what you've just said there is every company is also a media company. And go on.
What you just said, that's just reminded me. So we've got a lady we work with. She's a letting agent, and she's looking for a place because we're an agency that works out of a tea room. But what we're trying to look for is a space, and it's quite particular, and it's going to take a long time. So we've started, and she sent me a link to a video just Friday, and it's not quite right, but I was really interested because it was a video and it was on YouTube, and it didn't have that many views, and I replied and said, "This is great, we'll talk." But I said, "Are you still making these videos?" Because she did a tour and then she narrated over the top of it, and she sort of said, "This is the size." I said, "You're still doing this?" And she said, "No, we stopped once this video was taken in lockdown, and that's how we had to do it. Now that we're meeting people again, we're doing it that way." And that just sort of blew my mind. I was thinking you would be ahead of all your competitors if you were still making those tours, your opinion on this and doing that. And then you can get the real people that want to visit and they'd really be interested. But I was thinking, just do the videos.
Do you know the house? I'm going to focus on house because it's a very good example. But whether it could be a phone review, it could be a car review, it could be a house tour. But the thing is, when you do those types of videos, again, we'll use Ryan Serhant as an example, or there's Jason Matuk, or there's Propertygrams, or there's a ton of others. They're not just showing you a house, but they're also narrating how you could live in that house. They're building a picture. They're selling you that house while you are watching it, saying, come through this huge pivot door. It's 2.5 meters high. You could have drinks by your pool. You got this huge master suite. You got this amazing garden, and they're selling you a lifestyle. And that's what these videos allow you to do. Same with the phone. Phone review or a car review. They're selling you the lifestyle. They're selling you how it fits into your life. And we need to be doing the same in this industry. The video content, and I know Lee's touched on this as well. Go on.
All comes back, though, to what I said earlier on. Everyone falls into that safety catch where they don't want to do anything out of the norm. And that's not just our industry, that's every industry. That's marketing in
That's
general.
human nature.
Convincing people to do what isn't really, let's be honest, that's not a lot of work. They're going to be going and showing people around. Just take one extra tour and do it on your phone.
Yeah.
But then, I'll tell you, this is the psychology part of people who will not change. And they'll look and they'll find every excuse not to do it. Oh, it's on a phone, it'll not look professional.
Rubbish.
Oh, I can't because I ain't got time. Oh, I'm not going to do it because I'm not very confident and I'll not get the point across. There's a million reasons why they said they won't. The fact is, it's because they want to do the same thing that they've always done. And that's always been the problem in marketing. I've worked in different industries, is getting people to change the mindset to doing unique content that is relative to the people you're selling to, rather than what you think is the mainstream go-to norm. Because what everyone else is doing ain't working.
No, I mean, what Lee's just said there, I mean, that comes back to just getting started. It doesn't matter if it's just on your phone. I mean, Richard, I don't know when you started making videos right at the beginning, but I imagine, have you used your phone in the past to like with the gimbal, for example, going around? And
something I'm really looking at. So the way, it's a slow process what I'm doing, because I'm trying to build up on every platform. And it just means it's going to take a little bit longer, but I don't want all my eggs in one basket. YouTube is my slowest growing platform, but it will be the strongest eventually. And it's harder to grow, but I'm letting YouTube do its thing.
YouTube's your goal. If you can crack that, you'll do very, very well.
It's just because I'm spreading out, and it's interesting to see. But even I'm dabbling with TikTok, and I'm putting the same content on. But the thing that's really interesting is going full circle. So when I started uploading, I always used the same camera. Now, the only thing I've probably changed in the last couple of years is the lens, which anyone will tell you, it changes everything. But the camera on iPhones and smartphones now are so good. Like, if I wanted 4K, I wouldn't hesitate to use my phone. And
I've got 8K on this phone, on my Samsung.
You can't beat it. But there's also this authenticity with the phone, and it seems to be TikTok and places like this. And I was watching something the other day, and this guy was a professional, and he was trying to work out the views and how it sort of differentiates.
Because the social platforms like Instagram and TikTok and YouTube Shorts, they're built around phones. They're not built for big camera rigs and lighting.
No.
They're built, those social media networks are built for me and you and Lee and everybody else to just film from our phones, because you put your filters on it, it fine tunes it. It's all the work's done in the software. You upload it, done.
Yeah.
For ease and speed and everything else. They're not, TikTok isn't, set up 10 lights and 2 cameras and da-da-da. It's not built for that.
No. And it's funny how you'll see people that are doing that, and they have to sort of dumb it down and break it down a little bit, and just because people want authenticity.
Yeah.
Anything that comes from a company, they assume is, like you say, the lights, 2 cameras, they've got a production company involved, and they've spent a lot of money. Now, this is my argument as well. That's what I think puts people off. Companies, they get in their head, as you said, Lee, they think they've got to go all in. It's got to be the same sort of context. It has to be professionally done. And what I'm trying to say to people is, we need to go the other way. If you pulled your phone out and put your face on there, and I think this will depend on the companies, because we've got some big companies in our industry, but I think it actually works better with the small and medium companies who've got an owner there and he's interested in this thing. Because the other side to it is, people may want to do this, they just don't even know where to start. So this is why we're sort of putting it out there that, even if you just need a bit of help getting going, it's so much better if you do it organically in-house. All marketing should be organic and in-house. And it's the more you can do that, the more moments you can capture, and the more.
And you tell the most authentic story, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
We've had some. Sorry, Richard, go on.
No, you go.
We've had some comments on Facebook. So Abigail Adams is watching. Good evening. Fiona Lund's watching. Good evening. Fiona says there's a lot of in terms of video content relevance is important. Karma. She mentions karma being relevant to the sector. Brewha, Fiona Lund owns Brewha Marketing. They've done video. They've also got an audio podcast as well. You should check her out. Amy, she's called, I believe. She's got the best voice for audio podcasting. I mean, superb voice. I mean, amazing.
Who's that?
Amy from Brewha. They do she voices the audio podcast that they do. I mean, studio quality voiceover. That like, Richard, listen to it. You'll know what I mean the minute you hear it. It's
What's the podcast called?
if you look Brewha's website, it's on there, I believe. So check there out. And a cheers to Mark for those who may or may not know. We lost an industry friend in Mark Slaughtel, who was also Fiona's other half, tragically. So I think if we all raise a glass at this point, Lee and Richard, to Mark, cheers.
Mine's empty, but we'll always raise to Mark. He's a top.
He was a top guy. But yeah, so check Brewha's audio podcast out, because like I say, the voice quality is outstanding. So we did get quite deep into that. Lee did say we'd end up.
Well, a lot deeper. There's a bigger conversation off camera with that.
So
I think some of it will be helpful to point you in right directions, Richard. I know you're a clued up guy, but to save you a lot of the hassle that we've already gone through, to be fair, because you're going to come up against hurdles that you'll not get over. So you've got to pick and choose your battles with it, really.
The good thing about Glazing Insider is I've sort of separated it away from sort of the agency side of things, so I can keep it and just basically do what I want. That's how because I don't want it to be reliant on people to fund it or anything like that. I just want to test the content and see what works. And then, we're working with companies anyway, but that'll be more the nozzle side of things and just to sort of create content and do that kind of thing. But Glazing Insider is just, it is the media part of the company, if you want to look at it that way. That is the valuable content. But I did set it up with the consumers in mind. And as Jason said once, it is to a bridge towards the industry. And it's because a lot of the content, as you said, Lee, it's all the same. But the really interesting thing about content for me is that I listened to someone, or I think it was something like a news presenter, and he was explaining to someone why people listen to him to get the news. And it's because the news is the same across all the channels effectively, but people tune in, they want him, they want to hear him say it. And even though, news presenters don't actually give much of their opinion, when you get into the likes of YouTube and how many people review products on YouTube, you've probably got one new phone comes out and, well, I don't know, 100, 150 people review it. And they've each got their own following. They've all got their, and they go to maybe one or two. And this is why people have said to me, what happens if someone else starts? I said, that's great. We'll embrace them. We'll help them. And
this is it. This is what the industry has not had, is the arrogance to believe that the people who currently operate in it cannot go either unchallenged or added to. As you've just said there, new people come along. They have different ideas. You'll get much further embracing change and doing things and embracing new people than shunning them and burying head in the sand and pretending things aren't changing. Yeah, I mean, tech's a good example. The tech industry, the collaboration in the tech industry is amazing, and they've just gone miles ahead with it.
Yeah, and it's not going away. You can't ignore it. And you can for so long, and people can sidestep it. They can push marketing money into other areas, but eventually, it's either the smart companies will invest in it now because it will take time. If they're going down the content route, they've got a year or so before they even see. And that's, I think, marketing for companies is hard anyway. Not seeing a return on investment. Any marketing person I've talked to in the last month or so, they're fighting to get a budget anyway. And to turn around and say, hey, we want to produce a podcast. We want to make these videos regularly, not just a one-off. I think the first thing, whether it goes to the finance department, is what's the return on investment here? And it's sort of, you've got to write it off as branding and sort of, it's just, and all I wanted to be is supportive so that, you know, some companies.
Good luck trying to repeat that message to everybody over the next 20 years.
It's interesting because some get it, and I was quite surprised. Some get it, and I think that there are some other challenges. They just, they don't know how to start, they don't know where to start, but they really want to. And then there's two, they don't really, you know, unless we're going down the personal branding route, which is really interesting, they need to be involved. So again, it's a time thing.
So what do you say to someone? Because again, me and Lee have battled through this process ourselves. What do you say to, you know, someone who in the marketing will go, how do I justify this to finance? So you speak to the marketing people, and then the marketing people say to you, well, I'm going to have to go to the finance department, and the finance department are going to ask me, well, what's return on investment, or how many clicks are we going to get, or how many views are we going to get? Because I get it, Lee gets it, you get it. All finance department sees is, what am I getting right now for it?
To that, I would say, I'm sorry, we can't work with you. You're not ready for this.
Fair enough. Yeah.
It's literally, we'll just find a company that is ready, and they want the help, and they want the assistance, and they want to invest in their content now, because that is the company that is going to be ahead of the one that's still dwelling on the cost.
But this is the thing, it's getting into people's heads. And, you know, I think most marketing departments get it. I would like to think most marketing people understand.
They do.
It's just they don't get to spend the money.
The other way, okay. If I was having a conversation with the finance director or the owner, because most owners, they get it. They just, most of the time, they don't have the capacity. They need someone to deal with it and just get on with it. They just, I love this. They're the leaders. They invest in things, and they're running at 100 miles an hour. They haven't got the time, but they get it. They love it. Right, get on, make me something, and we'll support you. That's what we get. If you've got to justify it, the best way to explain it, and I have done, is if you invest in it now, and we put, say, I don't know, just say £1,000 a month. So what's that? One advert somewhere or something like that, £1,000 a month, and you make content. If you put that in now, instead of sponsoring a platform in a year's time, you would have built and you own the platform. And then it's up to you what you do with it. You can either have people sponsoring your platform, whatever it is, whether it's a podcast or your videos, and people come in that way, or you just use it for yourself. And then once in a while, as Jason said, you just sort of say, by the way, we don't go on about this very often, but we do make windows, and bring it in that way. And it's just that media thing. The baffling thing is, did I tell you? I don't know if some people know it, but the soap companies, the reason why soaps are called soaps is because it was a soap company that realized that their adverts, if they were in a series, they performed better because people tuned in to see the next advert. And that's what it's all about, consistency and providing value. So it's a good way to use your marketing money, creating content. And I can't stress it enough. It's so to the point where I've literally said, if they don't do it, I'm going to do it anyway. And I'll just produce these things. And there'll just be multiple, as long as I can keep going, because there's only, you know, and build a team around that will just produce content. And then we'll see where we are in a couple of years' time.
We will use, again, and we'll let Lee come in at this point, but the house tours, Matt and Summer, that was the other one I was going to talk about.
Yes, yeah.
Me and Richard have talked about this because we must have talked for like 2 hours before we recorded our podcast. But
yeah, we did, yeah.
But it's the house tours one is such a good example of completely upending how you sell a house now.
Yeah,
like the house tours, Matt and Summer, Jason Matuk, JP, Ryan Serhant, they didn't necessarily do house tours to help them sell houses. They were already estate agents. They already had a job. They were already selling houses. What they have done is created a brand, created an impression, grabbed people's attention. They sell houses. People then watch these YouTube videos and go, "Ooh, I'm a millionaire. I've got 10 mil to spend. Oh, Ryan or Jason Matuk, whoever, I want to buy a house from you. Or, oh, I've got a house to sell. Ryan, can you sell my house for me?" Suddenly, leads are coming in because they've watched him tour a house on the other side of the world, but he's managed to build up such a following and reputation and a platform that they want him to do it. And then in comes the lead generation. Go on, Lee.
I half agree with Richard.
Oh, here we go. Go on.
Okay, and I'll tell you why.
Go on.
I think the content is the leading force behind everything. You're bang right with that. And I think if you look at the successful brands, especially over the last 2-3 years, and I'll use Brewdog as one, Gymshark.
Yeah,
Gymshark's a good one.
Communities with their own content, and it's strong content and it's consistent. But building your own platform and your own community isn't enough. That's the base. That's the base. Now, the base from where they're building and the real growth comes then by stimulating the business that comes through that and bringing out the marketing budgets to then bring the new business in by sponsoring.
Yeah.
That's where you grow it to a point where you're not going to reach certain parts of your audience. But they're using the base of the content to bring in enough value that they can then make that extra step. And Brewdog are on the telly, they're on radio, they're on wherever they can get the name, they're promoting themselves there. But there's a strong base and they can afford to do it because they put the groundwork in and built that strong content plan and built a customer base and a community. And whether you look at it as a community, it don't matter what it is. You can build a community. We've got a small community in this podcast. You've got a small community in your podcast. You're building it, and that's the basis of everything. But the content is the driver, but that's not everything. You can't just rely on that content. That's the platform to build then further and reach. I mean, but that's where it all comes from. But getting people to understand your first bit, that you've got to invest into that, is the hardest thing you'll ever do.
Yeah.
Because I've been doing it for many, a lot longer than I've known.
Do you know?
But it's very, very difficult, but they need to do it. And a lot of people are not willing to. It's like you said there, Richard, and I think it's relevant to what you said. You talk about they'll do it for a year, the owners of, and I'm not saying any particular owner because I've done it in every industry possible now. But you'll get someone buying in for a year, and they'll say, "No, I understand. I've got to let it grow." But you watch after a year when they come back and they look at it and they're going, "Well, hold on a minute. What value? Yeah, but I've already discussed this with you. It's going to take." No. I'm not interested. I can save 12, 15 grand. It's amazing how quick people change the mindset.
You don't build anything in a year. You don't build anything in 2 years. You build things over 5, 10, 15 years. And I don't know what it is about this industry that I don't get it. I mean, you look at tech, you look at food, you look at sports. I mean, right, okay, I'll give you a good example. When an NBA player or a baseball player or an NFL player signs a sponsorship deal with a company, it's never for a year, is it? It's never for 6 months. It's for like 5 years. It's 7 years. Some baseball players sign a 10-year deal worth hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars. They don't do it because they like to spend hundreds of millions of dollars. They do it because they realise over 10 years they get to work with the best baseball player ever or the best LeBron James. No sports company's going to go, "Oh, can we work with you for a year?" What are they going to achieve out of a year? Nothing. Over 10 years, they're going to know that LeBron James wears those types of shirts. They're going to know that LeBron James wears those types of trainers, that he uses that type of deodorant, and so on. You don't build awareness and impact over a year. You build it over a long period of time.
It's like, it's an easy analogy. You don't just plant a seed and it doesn't just grow straight to a 20-foot flower, does it? Overnight, it's gonna. You've got to care for it. You've got You've got to water it. You've got to take care. You've got to prune it. And eventually, you'll go, all right, let's not talk flowers. Let's talk like an apple tree. It took us in our garden about 6 years to get an apple tree growing. Do you know what I mean? And then even that, it weren't right. We had to keep getting it to a point where it probably took about 7 or 8 years before it were looking like an apple tree. And this is a thing. I know it's a bit of a weird analogy, but it takes time to do all of this, and people are not generally patient enough to do it. No. And it's a shame.
It could be, though, that there's two sides to this, because I look at it that everything to do with sports, houses, people can get really excited about those things. It's very hard to get people excited about windows and doors unless they're buying windows and doors. So this is why there's sort of the consumer side of things. It's not a hobby. It's not something that people can, and then you've got the people within the industry. It's their life. And like, I can't remember if it was you or Jason or Lee, they've got their own hobbies after this. They don't, fenestration is only part of their life. But I think the reason why that we can start this is that we find it relatively easy to put a camera together or start a live stream and start it up. Not everyone has those skills, but if they're genuinely interested, they would learn. They would work it out and say, I want to do this. And then they wouldn't mind. If it's time and their time, although it's valuable, they're willing to put that time in for a year, 2 years, and then they can sort of feel it, they grow it, and then they're ready to get help in.
The one area I would say...
Just grabbing a drink.
Yeah, no worries. I would actually say... I don't know. There's parts of the window door industry that are quite sexy now as a purchase,
Oh, yeah.
Front doors.
Yeah.
Flush windows. Aluminium bifolds and sliders. I would actually say, 10 years ago, I'd have said windows and doors people are excited about. Actually, if it's a door, if it's certain types of windows, or if it's like a bifold, for example, actually, I have seen people in our showroom get really into the detail about what brand, what colour, what style, how it operates, really investing time into that purchase. When I first, for those who don't know, me and Richard have got weirdly similar backgrounds in how we started in this. We even have wives of the same name. That's how similar things are. When I started when I was 17, we had nowhere near the choice in the range that it is now. And trust me, it was hard work selling to a homeowner who could not be asked to be there, but had been dragged there because he needs new windows, and all you've got is white, rosewood, and light oak. Now, different. You can have any colour you want in any material you want. That suddenly makes things a lot more interesting in terms of changing how your house looks. Doors are a good example. The world of choice in doors is insane. You've got aluminium bifolds. You've got a 3 metre wide opening. You can now suddenly fully open up. I think windows and doors is a sexy thing now. In parts, you'll always get that. It is. You'll always get that cheap end where you only want to sell or buy shiny white, which is not. But for anyone who's got an extension, building a house, renovating a house, or just has a general interest in home improvement, they will love window and door buying because they're inclined to like that kind of thing.
It's exciting, and it's we've had this conversation before, but it's their dream. They get to that stage, and if they have a good experience, they're coming back. If they do this again, that especially people do it for a living these days. They're literally buying houses, doing them up, and selling them on or renting them out. It's a really exciting part, and it is, but it's.
Do you know what the issue is? It's not the people; it's the industry, because. You've worked in this as long as I have. You know full well that when it comes to change and embracing new things and trying to move with the curve rather than behind it, we don't do that.
And with all of this choice that you just said we now have, all it's done, and you probably see this the same way I did, is I had customers coming into the showroom to talk to me, and basically they were trying to work out where to even start. And instead of just coming to one company to get the information, they didn't feel that our industry, and we can go off on one here, but with the trust,
that's fine. That's what we do.
And
best
the industry,
cool.
but the trust wasn't there. That they felt the need come to 5 different people to hear the same information most of the time, unless they're really devious and they're completely wrong. But we were all saying the same things. And then it came down to, I'd have a lot of interesting conversations because I was passionate about the products and say, I probably suggest you do this or, do that. And they go, oh, well, that's interesting. And you could just see that they just didn't know where to start. But if they were just more informed, they had channels that they could watch, I feel for the salespeople, they just waste their time because, they go to 5 or 6 different people. They know really what they're getting to. And then they're trying to work out which product to narrow down to. Now, the only downside to that is it's very hard for that content to come from, the manufacturers, the systems companies. The installers are in a better position to do this because they're installing all of these products and they're putting their name to it.
True, but do you know what that does do? It also gives people like me and you and Lee and others who have a platform to communicate that excitement to the homeowner, because I get quite a lot of accidental homeowner traffic on my site, and I often get emails and comments on posts and blogs about asking me questions or what shall I do this, or they're just doing the research, but they're asking me questions. That tells to me they've engaged with what I've written or said or tweeted, and they want to know more.
Yeah.
What that does do is gives us guys an opportunity to connect with the public and give sort of an industry's insider view about things and communicate our excitement and the world of possibilities. I guess what I'm saying is we haven't done enough of that.
No.
You've got 32 million households out there. That's 32 million homes ripe for home improvement. You've got less than a dozen people actually making videos or writing about it, or you've got a few industry press stuff, but they only talk to the industry. You've got you might have a handful of people trying to connect with the public, but not really, half-arsing it, not doing a good job. There is a huge, wide open slot there for companies, for marketeers, for bloggers, for video makers, for social media people to connect, but we're not doing it. And it just seems insane to me. It
is, but I think there's a lot of marketeers in a lot of, whether they work for an agency or they're an in-house team, literally screaming. They could be watching this saying, yes, exactly, we know we should be doing that. And they're fighting this battle as well.
But they're not allowed to.
Inside. And they're not the decision maker. They can't find, and the best thing they can do is once in a while bring in a production company to make one video, whether that's for the website or they can make one case study. And to me, that's great. That's fantastic. But
you need to keep doing it.
It's got to be every month, every week, and just build on that, and then you'll see so much more. But I understand the cost.
You've got the cost. But then you look here out, and again, I will use the house tour channels on YouTube because they are perfect examples of creators who have put years of video making, and they are now seeing the benefits. Again, I will use Ryan Serhant and Jason Matuk and all the others as examples. They already sold houses as jobs. They didn't go onto YouTube to sell houses. They were already real estate agents. They already did that. They understood, because they've kept doing it, that if you keep creating, keep getting the message across, then you will slowly build your following, build your platform, build your network, build your reach. You won't do it in one video or a couple of pieces of PR. You have to relentlessly do it over and over again. Yes, you will spend a lot of money doing it, but the returns come a lot later, but a lot better than they do immediately. And if you don't get that, and you go to an agency, or me, or you, or Lee, and you say, I want these results after 6 months, you don't get it. You just don't get it.
What you just said about coming, I mean, that's the other option. Some of them I know will just be waiting, and they'll just think, we'll wait till they build that up, and then we'll just jump on a sponsor video once in a while. We're fine with that. And, ultimately, we'll be fine with that. But it's still, I think the one area that sort of the nozzle agency side of thing is to fix the case study problem, because every company struggles with getting case studies. They can find plenty of companies out there that will make really nice videos, really high quality stuff, but they get stuck on, they need to pay them their money. They're worth it. I'm not here to say that there's no production company out there that's not worth their money. There's a lot of costs associated with it. And I don't think many industries actually value making the production of a video or content, because it's a bit like the photographer at a wedding. Everyone's got a phone with a camera on it now, and they sort of say, well, why am I paying you for that? They sort of forget that a photographer is an artist, and what they're doing there is producing content in a different form.
Totally agree. I mean, Lee, we had video production for their filming the NFA's winners event, and I don't know if people saw the video that he put together.
No, I did. Yeah, it was good.
But he was there all day.
Yeah, exactly. And this is it. It's sort of.
Go on, Lee.
Sorry, Lee.
But I'm going to come back to what you said there, Richard, and you're bang right. It's getting people to change the mindset of the kind of video. I mean, we have people ring us all the time asking about video. What do you charge? Well, what for?
Be back in a moment, Lee. I'll let you take over.
What kind of video do you want? Well, we just want like a video as company. And to be fair, we're not a creative agency, but and this is a problem, and this is a niche, is having a creative agency who can create creative videos, because you don't need to be doing corporate style videos. We tell every client that we work with, what you're doing that for. Be inventive. Let's sit down. Let's have a chat. What are you trying to achieve? What are your goals? What do you want to get from this company? Oh, we just want to tell people about what we do. All right. Well, what? Do you just want a bland video like everyone else then? What's the point? You're just one of a million others.
Yeah.
But trying to get people to take that leap of faith to do something a little bit different. And, we've done it with a client who we've done a lot of video with, and it's a case of, rather than spending 10, 15 grand on a big flash corporate, doing the multi-camera shots and whatever you want to do in 4 or 5 days and all that sort of stuff, why don't you just book out a bit of time? Let's be a bit creative. Let's make 30, 40, 50, 30, 45 second minute videos where you can actually use them over a period of time, and it's helpful in different parts of your business. What parts of your business are you trying to promote? Now, that's the basic level. You're taking it to the next level with the creative content, and that's what that's what all industries need. Not just this, but the problem is people are, and I go back to what I said earlier, Richard, people are very hard to take out that comfort zone of doing what they've always done.
Yeah.
And I've struggled with that for the last 10 years with the video side. You've got to do something different. You can't just, you don't want to just be, it's just a factory. You're having shots all around factory and on your production line. And yeah, I'm sure that's got some value to some people, but come on, let's get a bit more creative. Let's excite the viewers. How many times have I gone on to a YouTube channel of companies in this industry where I've started watching a video and got, I could have been watching any of the 50 others that have already been made.
I don't know. Some of them put me to sleep.
Just different branding. It's just a different company, and it's showing it going down the line, and then it'll come out to truck, and they'll be going off delivering, and it's like I could watch that 50 times, and you couldn't tell company A from company X.
Do you know what I've liked? I mean, just going on to, I think following on from what Lee said. Rich, do you follow a guy called MKBHD on YouTube?
Oh yeah, yeah.
I mean, is he not like the perfect example of someone who just started but has managed to engage his followers? I mean, if you watch his first videos, I mean, they look like they're filmed on a potato, but he did it.
Oh, absolutely.
And now he's the biggest tech reviewer on YouTube, and it's just him and maybe another guy. And
literally millions of dollars a month he makes. It's ridiculous.
Well, I mean, let's have a look. How many YouTube followers has he got?
It's something like, is he 5 or 6 or 7 million?
No, it's more than that now. It's coming close to 9. MKBHD.
Oh, wow.
MKBHD. Let's have a look. Holy shit. 15.1 million subscribers.
But he's doing everything. He does tech. He is into his cars, his electric cars. But that's everyone I talk to. And every time I'm buying something, I'm looking at the reviews. And this is what the conversation I have. I don't look at, if you're, it's probably some sort of equipment at the moment around video or sound or something like that. There is a guy that is my sound guy. I watch any video that he's made of the product. He tells me if it's good, if it's bad, what, he basically does all the research for me, and then I can make a decision just watching that one video. Now, because I'm interested in these kind of things, I'll probably watch 2 or 3 videos as well. One of those may be the manufacturer's video, gliding through it, explaining the features, and that's nice. And I'll watch that. But I'm really trying to stress to companies, it's the authenticity of just someone walking around with their phone even. And I think there would be a disconnect, because there's some big companies in our industry, and unless they've got a face that they can say this is a personal brand of this person, but humans are interested in other humans. They're interested in behind the scenes. They're interested in what that person did that day and how that company runs, and are they happy in the office, or are the fitters happy? Well, they just want to get a flavor of the company.
Do you know who started a channel? McDermott's Windows. So they've been regulars on these podcasts for quite a while, and he started a YouTube channel, and he fixed a GoPro to himself, and he would just press film and did record it. It'd show him basically a day as a fitter, because it's a small business. He runs it himself. Very high quality business, and he would create some brilliant videos, and they gave a great insight into what fitting windows is like in real life, in crap weather and difficult. And I was talking to him, and he enjoyed doing it, but he was saying to me, it's a lot of work. And
it is.
And this is the thing, but I said to him, stick with it, because once you get past, it's like breaking through a resistance barrier. Once you get past that level of difficulty and you learn and you up your, because he was self-teaching himself videos. He weren't a video guy, I believe. He was teaching himself how to do what he needs to do.
This is the content, when I created my Trade TV way back when, was what I was setting out to try and do.
But it was interesting. I watched it.
The day in the life stuff, I was trying to get locksmiths, because they used to do locksmith end and we used to do glazing. And we used to try and get locksmiths and installers to do a day in the life. And I said, we can either come out with a camera or you can do it yourself on a phone. And I tell you what, again, it comes down to how hard it is to get people to take that punt on being uncomfortable. Because a lot of the comments we got of people we were asking were very, very competent people, but they're like, yeah, but I'll be going about my day, and then I'll do something, and someone will be like, oh, he's not doing health and safety right.
So what?
And then they'll pull them over it. And that's the interesting content that people would watch, but they're scared to death that someone's going to go, he forgot to put his hard hat on, or he hadn't had scaffolding up on that window, or...
Do you know what?
There's reason why.
There's dual purposes to this, though. There's 2 purposes. So there's the lead generating side, but there's also the side which Lee's just been talking about there. Because remember, we have another issue of labour shortage and skill shortage. We shouldn't just be publishing content and creating content to generate leads, although we should. We also need it to help bring in new people. So there's 2 sides to all this. Yes, there's the consumer side and connecting with the public and creating leads and building up brand profile and all that brings with it. But we've also got a skill shortage. We should also be using podcasts like this, audio podcasts, videos, blogs, whatever medium you want to use, to show our industry off in the best light possible. Because like every other sector, we're facing a shortage of people, skills, youth. We need to be using these platforms to say to people, look at this industry. We've got a good career prospect here for you. Come and have a look at us.
Yeah.
So...
And that's a good indication. I'm glad you said about them. I'll have to look for those videos, because and like you say, Lee, trying to get them to do that. The conversations I've had in the last couple of weeks, it's like, if they can just capture that, we can do anything with it. I said, literally, we can edit anything. We can make it... we just need that source.
Yeah.
And if you're willing to do that, they don't have to put their face in front of it to begin with, but they'll want to, I think, at some point.
Richard, we tried a giveaway of trying to, anyone who got involved, we had a giveaway of not actual video cameras, but Canon.
If it's a GoPro, I'm in.
Video on them. like £600, £650 video cameras with video capability, and we're giving 5 or 10 of them away to get people to do stuff like this. You just couldn't get people to do it.
I mean,
everything.
There is. It takes a certain. It's a bit like I sort of having your own business. It takes, you've got to be a little bit insane to want to run your own business.
Agreed.
Because the same people do not run their own businesses. They are smart in their way. And it's the same with video and content. I think you've got to be a little bit, just. And I don't genuinely, I don't think it's a confidence thing. I think it's a not caring thing. And I think the more people, I think over time, people will get there because they'll see so many other people doing it. It will become the norm. And they go, well, he's got a GoPro on his head. I'll just stick one on my head and I'll do that. The downside to that is it's going to be so saturated. I mean, YouTube is already saturated. Podcasting is there, it's getting there, but of the two, podcasting is the one that there's still, there's some massive.
But there's two types of podcasting, isn't there, Rich? There's the video stuff, like the live podcasting, which we're doing now.
Yeah.
There's the recorded video podcasting.
You're on a different level.
And then there's the audio.
Yeah. But live stream is its own kettle of fish. You're strictly speaking, you're in two, because live stream is completely. This is the first live stream I've ever done. And that's because this is unedited. I've never, usually I can sit
behind swear on this one as well.
but you're right, and there's a different level, and production wise, to take my podcast to include video is another person in my eyes, because I literally have to turn up and I can't watch 3 cameras because I'll be out of the conversation then. So, and I've explained this to people.
It is different. I mean, because I think we chatted about this afterwards. Like, people don't realise what we do. So there's a fair bit of a setup to doing this. So we've got equipment so we stream using my machine, my laptop. We've got lights behind what you can't see. I've also got another device, so I use my phone quite a lot. So and we've got a specific software. So we use software called Streamlabs that allows me to view the YouTube feed. I have my phone. Which I've got to monitor.
Cost behind me that's cost a fortune.
Facebook. No, but we're also keeping up with the comments. So while we're talking to guests like you, Rich, and so on, we're also keeping an eye on the comments and trying to work in some of the relevant comments and mention what people are saying. So it's quite a thing to have to manage as we're also talking. It's a thing to juggle. At least with a recorded video, you can record what you want, edit the shit bits out, and you can make it look polished.
Honestly, this is the thing.
But there's 2 markets, and I said as soon as Jason introduced me to your content, Richard, I were like, that's what our industry needs. That sort of that is proper. What I would watch on YouTube. That's the sort of content I would watch. Whereas what we're trying to do with this is completely different. Like you said, it's unrehearsed, it's unscripted. But there's different audiences for different things. And with us, you're bang right. You've got to not care. We came on when we started doing this. It was just as an outlet, and that's all it's ever been, was an outlet for when people were struggling at COVID and they had nothing to do.
Yeah, we were all locked down. We did it every Friday at that point.
And literally, we just said, let's go on, let's have a laugh, some of it will be industry related, some of it won't, and we just carried on, and we're not bothered what people think. If some people will go, oh, what they're doing, they're idiots. They're just talking nonsense every week about some of it's not even industry related.
We often get called idiots.
We're not doing it.
I'm fine with an idiot, yeah.
We're not doing it as an ego trip. It's just we enjoy talking to people in industry, and whoever comes on and wants to talk to us, we talk to them. Sometimes, in the early days, we I think the busiest times we had 2,000-3,000 people watching it.
We had, if you got to remember at the time, so we used to do this via my phone, via Periscope when that was still a thing.
Oh wow, Periscope!
Yeah, do you remember that?
Yeah.
The viewership were good. I mean, look, we had an advantage because everyone was literally locked in their own houses, so we had a captive audience. But what that did do is it built up a regular audience.
But we promoted it very, very well in the first stages. We don't anymore. It's just we hardly. I mean, we put a few tweets out and stuff, but we don't really. We don't do as much as we used to engage.
But
people.
we're the only one who do this on a regular enough basis. I don't, there's. I mean, Richard, you do a video every week, but in terms of podcasting and stuff, no one does it. But again, I don't know why.
I think it is the time, and it is hard. I mean, just for the podcast, it takes. Even though I simplified the recording, as you know, Jason, there's a chat before, there's traveling, there's the organization. We plan that weeks in advance to fit in with the schedules, and things can change. And I think, to be fair, the way the podcast works for me is that I set out with, as Lee said, I didn't care. I made it because I wanted to have those conversations. I'm genuinely interested, and it doesn't matter if someone listens or not. The fact that they are listening is pleasing, but I was still going to do it anyway. And I think there's this thing where a lot of people start things, and I was talking to someone the other day, and apparently 11 podcasts is where people really lose steam. So I'm not quite to 11
yet. Is that all
yet.
11?
It's 11. And then because they start for really good reasons, but people soon find out how hard it is. It's really easy to start anything. It's like a business.
I was about to say.
It's the grind, and it's sort of going through that. And I'm fine with that. And you're fine with that because you've done that before. And I did that with my YouTube channel as it sits now, my sort of behind the scenes vloggy style thing. I haven't uploaded a video on that for a year or so, and it's only about 300, just over 300.
Go on, tell us what the account is. Let's have a look. Come on.
It's just my name, but that's all. It's just my name, and I'm bringing it back. It's coming back because I want to show behind the scenes again, and I want to show basically practice what you preach. And I think people should have the personal brand and really push themselves. And there's a few owners out there that are really capable of doing this. Even if we have to just get on board. And I think some of them, they're in a position where they wouldn't mind filming themselves. But I think also it's a time versus money kind of thing. There's companies out there with a lot of money. They just don't have any time. And it's trying to work out, are they willing to put that money to build something or not? If they're not, then they need to do it themselves.
I was about to say what you just said there. I was literally going to say the same thing. It's very easy to start. It's incredibly difficult to carry on. Not technically difficult. It's having the willpower and the mental strength to continue. I mean, I hope you do this for as long as you can. I mean, me and Lee with the NFAs, they're 10 years old next year. DGB will be 13 years old in March. It takes a lot of effort to maintain something of that nature. And yes, it is incredibly easy to start something. It's incredibly difficult to maintain it and keep it going and build it into something. That's where the hard graft comes in. That's where the value comes in.
Yeah.
You are paying to be part of that particular platform. Not in the start, not in the immediacy, but in the legacy of it.
But again, bringing it back to what we're doing tonight, we did that as kind of a filler for COVID. We've never even discussed trying to revenue this ever.
I don't think we ever would.
We could.
Oh. We could, but
listen, I'm inventive. We could have revenued it.
Hey, listen, Lee, just while you're here, we've got Mark Hickok. Mark, if you want to sponsor this, Thermoseal, it's fine. Tradders, if you want to sponsor this, it's fine. Michael at Aztec, you own the company. If you want to sponsor this, it's fine.
You have to provide pint glasses branded on them.
Stop being like a Scotsman at a wedding with confetti.
Oh, the can pay us in beer, Lee. The can pay us in beer. That's fine.
Sponsor the drinks, yeah.
Or in crypto. We'll take crypto as payment. But all that said, it would have been very easy for us to stop doing this after 3.
Of course it would.
Yeah.
Because we do it out of enjoyment. We don't do it for any monetary gain. We do it because we enjoy the industry and we like talking to people. Well, we like having a laugh with people as well. But the industry stuff we're talking about, we're passionate about it.
Exactly.
And there's not many people who'll be doing it we don't get anything out of it. It's very rare we mention our own companies. We might every now and once in a blue moon, but we don't mention his own. But we're not doing it for brand building. It's because we enjoy the industry. We like talking to people in the industry. That's it. That's all we do it for. It'd be very easy to lose.
Like Lee said, we could have canned this. We could have stopped after the first lockdown, but we haven't. We started in March. We did it on my phone. We did it on Periscope, but it used to overheat because we used to stream for 3 or 4 hours. It used to kill my phone. But no, like Lee said, we enjoy it. I'm not saying it's easy. It takes effort. We have to plan. We have to schedule around what I'm doing, what Lee's doing. Ideally, we like to do it every 2 weeks, but the last few weeks have been difficult with how busy we've all been. We try and do it every couple of weeks. That's not easy because we have to work it around personal schedules and life and kids and work and anything else.
Mark says we woke him up saying his name. We must have been interested. That's the problem, Mark. If you paid for some sponsorship, you'd be listening more.
We mentioned crypto and he got perked up. It's like Michael Hagan when we start talking about football, he turns off. But no, it's being able to sustain something is very difficult, and I think that's the kind of effort that always goes unrewarded or unrecognised at least.
Yeah. But I suppose that could be why maybe the companies also look at it that way, and they think that I know it's a lot of work, I know it's a lot of investment, and we can't commit to 3 years or 4 years or 5 years right now. So they let you build it up, and they're sort of.
I get that. I mean, look. I mean, if I take DGB as an example, most of the sponsors I've got on there now have been sponsors for years. But I'd like to think it's because they don't believe in just having 6 months at something and then stopping again. Because if they're staying there long enough, marking comments. Oh, dear. See, this is why I like a live stream. You don't know what comments you're going to get as you're talking. Well, if Jason actually used our stuff, would help. Bloody hell! Everybody wants something for note. Exposure don't pay the bills, Mark.
Yeah, it'll be great exposure for you. Go and pay for your lunch out of exposure.
Yeah, pay me mortgage. Yeah, you get loads of page views. Oh, I'll just go to the bank with all those page views. I'm sure I'll be fine. That's what I got at first. Got companies going, oh, when are you going to say something nice about me? And I'm like, well, why? Well, be good exposure. I'm like, well, I can't pay bills with exposure, pal.
I can't. Come across that yet?
I can't. You what?
Has Richard come across that yet?
No, not yet.
No, it will. It'll happen.
I think it's because it's probably still too new, and because I'm not getting 1,000 reviews. It's the videos that seem to be performing better are the consumer videos,
right?
And it's very interesting. Yeah, and it's so that's sort of making me. But of course, the attention is on LinkedIn, and that's where people they're still trying to understand things.
Are your videos monetized?
No, because YouTube. You need 1,000 subscribers before you can be monetized,
right?
And then you need 4,000 watch hours, which that takes quite a bit to get, and you have to have that consistently, and then you can monetize it. It's never, and people can pay these days to be premium, and then you don't get any adverts, and you just get I think they get some sort of revenue, but it's kind of. But the annoying thing is with YouTube. It used to be that on any of my videos, there were no adverts because I wasn't monetized. Now, YouTube is just monetizing your videos anyway, and they're taking all the ad revenue.
I thought you could choose not to be.
They changed it recently because all of my videos now play with adverts, and none of that money goes to me. It goes to YouTube. But that's their platform. Yeah, they tweaked it. And I don't know if it's every creator, whether it's just new ones or whether but it's definitely.
So what happens when you get to 1,000 subscribers? Does that change?
Then you start getting the money. But and then you choose again.
The ones, I think it was a few months ago, there was one of the ones that my kids watch, Mugs, and he's based in Sheffield, and they do kids, it's a really odd one, but he's massive on YouTube.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
He stopped making YouTube videos for about 3 or 4 months because of what they were doing. He said I'm not even going to do it anymore. It's come back now. Obviously, I think they must have had a big kick-off with major influencers, but there's been a lot to do with YouTube over the last few months.
Okay, here's an interesting question for you both. Fast forward a couple of years and the world of video has really taken over and embedded everything. Do you think there is a world possible where, whether it's a Richard or a Lee or a Jason or a window company, is it possible to have a fenestration related YouTube channel with 1 million subscribers on YouTube?
No.
Maybe not in 2 years, but I genuinely, YouTube's very, very difficult. And I think that there'd have to be...
All right, not 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. Can an industry...
The only, and I've thought about this a lot because I've said this to many people. I said, I don't imagine there'd be 1 million subscribers that... Because the way that people buy tends to be, they come in, they buy their bifold, they buy their front door, they disappear again. And they sort of drop in. But potentially, because I've seen how interested the industry is, I think architects could be involved. Industry people working within the industry could be subscribed. And so I think it's potential, but I think it would take a long time.
So the reason why I'm saying that is, what I'm thinking is, can our industry cultivate a culture? Okay, here's a big point. Can we cultivate a culture in maybe 5 or 10 years, where, whether it's via social media or TikTok or YouTube, where our industry can break through and be sexy enough and be interesting enough to get to where maybe 1 or 2 accounts are a bit high profile enough to have like 1 million subscribers or something? Do we think that's possible?
Yeah,
I do. I'd like to think we do.
I do. I've questioned it, and I think it, because I was talking to someone the other day, and she said I don't subscribe to anyone. So, and that was quite interesting. And if I look at the videos on my other YouTube channel, 98% of people are not subscribed that watch my videos. So subscribe. It depends. I think people follow more. I definitely think
that's
1 million
interesting.
on.
I'm subscribed. I subscribe to a fair few channels because I want to keep tabs on what videos they're published.
Yeah.
I assume you're the same.
I do, but I
Lee,
can
are you the
be
same?
quite picky if it's I'm sort of.
Do you not
into
subscribe to anybody?
I do, but it's very occasional.
See, this is, and I think it just depends on how neat and tidy people's subscriber accounts are, because mine's a mess. I've like anything I was interested in. There's probably I subscribe to about 150 people, and once in a while, if I think I'm really not interested in that anymore, I will unsubscribe. But it's quite rare.
Go on, Lee, sorry.
The short reply to your bigger question. Not in 1 million years. It'll reach anywhere.
Oh, I do love a challenge, Lee. Don't challenge me. What we putting on this? Give me 10 years.
Do you not think?
I honestly, this is my prediction. 1 million followers on TikTok, easy.
TikTok. I think you've got a chance. I think YouTube, any other social media, no.
If I could get to 100,000 on YouTube, I'd be happy with that.
I think you've done an absolutely amazing job, even over 10 years. I don't think, unless you're at the consumer side very, very hard, the industry...
Well, that will where the growth will be. It won't be from the trade. The trade is limited size. You'd have to attract a lot of consumer.
But to get to the
people.
Consumer, you have to have a lot of interest and a lot of collaboration with the industry, and I don't think the industry will give enough collaboration to anybody to do it on that big a scale. I would love to be proved wrong, because I think it needs that. And listen, I think for stuff like this, it needs a group of inventive people who are open to new content ideas. Not just us, but people of the like, to put together a group of companies who are willing to work together and put a marketing pot together to help the industry help themselves. But the collaboration is never there in the industry. They're all fighting each other. I think it needs to be a collaboration of.
All right. So between us, let's
to be able to achieve anything of any gross standard like that. It needs a lot of collaboration, and that's the hardest part. I think that's the bit where it'll not.
All right. There's the target. How can we collaborate between us to get 1 million subscribers to anything?
It's possible. The good what Lee was saying there with the industry. What companies have contacted me and they want to understand how it works and whether they have to pay me for reviews and how it works. And I've said, no, I'm not being paid for reviews. That's part of this where I can't do
that's
that.
where you start getting owned.
That's where it gets messy straight away. So I've said no to that. And basically, to sort of how I've worded this is I'm making these videos whether they like it or not. I'm not here to be nasty. I'm not here to rubbish anyone's livelihood, but I don't need them to make a video about their product. I will find that product in a home with the connection that I have.
And that you have to stick to that because I work in the same when it comes to advertisers and mine. They know full well that if you come and advertise with me, it will not change what I write. It will not change my opinion on things. If I have an opinion on a particular product type and you're involved with that product type, I will still write it.
Yeah.
Whether you like it or not. So just be aware. But I'd like to think people know that anyway because that's what drives the interest and the traffic. So they understand what they're getting in for. But don't ever deviate from that because the minute you let an advertiser dictate what you can and can't say, that's it. The authenticity goes. It's the reason why MKBHD on his tech channel, everybody loves him because he's not swayed by Apple or Google or Samsung.
No, he pulls them apart when he needs to, which is I respect that about him because they are paying his bills and he still just carries on, which is it's admirable. And that's what I really liked is some of the product reviews that I've been doing. I've recorded some in an installer's showroom, and rather than
talking about Blaw's aluminium.
Blaw's is one. That was the recent one, and that's nice. I really like that format because you're not sort of the manufacturer isn't really mentioned there. That was a pure consumer video, but a review video I did at Cedar Views. So it was a Spitfire door, and of course they're mentioned.
That one? I think I did.
But the good thing is I got to mention the installer, so they get the exposure. Spitfire, but they're doing a great job with everything they're doing anyway. They don't need me to mention it. And of course, it's about their product anyway. But just by dealing with Cedar Views, they get the exposure. I, as an installer or being in that setting, I know what they're going through and I know how hard it is to be different. So anything they can get that just mentions their name and it gets the views and it builds, I see them as assets. And that's the other thing. Until they turn the internet off, those videos will be there.
Correct.
And every time someone looks at that review, they will see the views, and there's a good chance that they could go to their website. They'll see if they're local. And I think that's what I like because I feel like it's helping that company for free, and that's nice. That's sort of a way of saying, look, thank you for letting me use your showroom. That's the least I can do. And then no money has to exchange. That they, from their point of view, they were in the same position as me. They're trying to sell a product. They're not always going to sell a Spitfire door when someone walks into their showroom. Most of it, it's a nice showroom and it has got a lot of Spitfire doors in it, but they're in the same business that, Jason, you in that scenario, you cannot rubbish any product because you might have to turn around and sell that product because that could be the perfect item for that home.
Indeed, but you can also give an honest opinion. For example, in the past, I've talked about problems with composite doors, or whether a bifold or versus a slider is right, or whether the conservatory market's dead, or whether the polycarbonate roof is dead. I still believe the polycarbonate roof is dead. I've been quite clear cut on that. If I have an opinion, I will try my best to be quite clear on what that opinion is. I won't fluff about the matter. And people will agree and people will disagree. But then again, if everybody agreed, then the world would be a boring place. Look at me and Lee. We actually rarely agree on anything. Like that bobble app, for example. We're nearly 2 hours in, and he's still got it on.
I'm impressed.
I'd love to wear this, but it could be a ponytail up.
It's not a ponytail anymore. It's a top knot.
I'm thinking out loud now, but maybe you're right. You know, the versus sort of sliding versus bifold and that sort of argument. I've seen companies make those types of videos already, and they're videos that I have yet to make.
When you think about the content, and people ask me this a lot, and you might get the same comments in a few years' time. How do you think of what to write, or how do you think of what to say? But the thing is, when you spend 5 minutes actually exploring the subject, if you really think about it, there's tons you can say.
Yeah.
You can talk about, I don't know, the various trade bodies and the benefits of each one. You can talk about bifolds versus sliders. You can talk about PVC versus aluminium. You can talk about aluminium versus timber. You can talk about the skills problem, the youth problem. You can talk about marketing like we've done today. You can talk about training and qualifications. There's tons you can do. There's tons. Anybody who says, well, there's not a lot to talk about, bollocks. There's tons to talk about if you just engage with the subject. And this is where people like me, you and Lee and others who have actually worked in the industry, we get a benefit because we're not just people writing, we're people who've worked in the industry and writing or making videos or doing whatever. We've done this job. We know what it's like. Some guy in an office who have never fitted a window in his life does not know what it's like. And this is where, I think you've got a ton of room to go into because you can explore anything.
I'm literally the most of next year is just going to be video. All the videos that I'm basically making are conversations I've had with customers. They've all come in and, just explaining to someone that you can repair this part of a window or replace the hinges is a conversation I had multiple times, even, as recent as probably 4 months ago, and sort of said, no, you don't need to do this, just change the unit, or, you don't need to do that. And I think it was just being honest that people liked because they felt that they could then trust me. And that's what I was thinking out loud about then with the verses. I think the content would have to be right. It's not a case of just saying that companies could copy my videos exactly. And then the difference in that sense, and this is why you really need to think about the long-term content. If you are investing it for a company, it has to be different to effectively what we're doing, because you said it before, Jason, this is our opinion. This is our face. This is a brand. And people will see it differently. If one of the big brands decided to write a blog and copy yours exactly, it's still only their thoughts, their opinions, and people won't see it as authentic or genuine. Exactly. They'll just see it as that. So this is the conversations I've had to sort of explain and say, look, it has to be different to what we're doing because we're doing this. And it has to be something that's more entertaining or something that's educational in a different way. But people look for authority, and currently that's what our industry is missing. There's some people out there that do have authority. I'm not saying there isn't, but they're usually built inside. And as you said, Jason, they're inside the industry. Consumers don't have a connection to them, and they're not likely going to go and find their their
but
Twitter
this is
feed.
where your MKBHDs and Ryan Serhans have actually built through.
The interesting thing about Ryan, did you know he only started his own agency just before lockdown? Yeah. He's worked for someone else all this time, and I think
Nest Seekers he worked for. He started his own agency. And this is a lot, people didn't realise. So he actually worked for Nest Seekers International. Yeah. He just built a team of people around him.
I know. That amazed me.
And then he basically built that team and turned it into his own agency. I said, listen, like with any business, I suppose the best time to start any business is when you're at rock bottom, because you can only go up from there.
It was, but with his following and everything that it was just, it wasn't going to fail. The only thing that could have put him out is if he spent too much on the office.
Well, he didn't spend enough, did he? Because he had to upgrade after 2 months because he'd outgrown where he was, and he's got that huge place in Soho now.
His dedication, though, if you listen to his stories, like the amount of times he's lent money to people and taken a risk just to get that through, he would do whatever it.
The only thing I question, and me and Lee have talked about this, and it's one of the reasons why I'm taking certain decisions now. for myself and my family is he sacrifices a ton when it comes to seeing his kids and his wife.
Yes. Oh,
Now-
don't get me started about this.
Now, as motivated as I am, and me and Lee talk about this nearly every day, as motivated as I am to do as well as I can in anything I do, whether it's this, whether it's DGB, whether it's selling windows for B&P, my ultimate priority is coming home and being with Soph and being with Spence and being with baby number 2 when it comes. When you look at, and this is something I've actually written about, so you know what the grind culture is?
Yeah.
You look at your Ryans and other people like that, who always seem to be working, who's never seem to be at home, and they say they work 19 hours a day and they're flying here and doing this. And they've got 2 kids and a wife. And I'm thinking, what are you sacrificing? And Lee, how many times have we talked about this and said, because, you know, the early years of having kids, you only get once.
Yeah.
Oh, I 100% regret spending so much time building a business when my kids were at that young age. I sacrificed a lot at a point where I wish I hadn't done it. Don't get me wrong, I live and breathe what I do, so I had to do it. But if I could go back, I would spend a lot less time on the business. And to be fair, probably a lot more productive. If I took the time to spend with my family as well.
Do you think, Lee, that was because of the time, because you physically had to go? Whereas I think Jason and I were slightly luckier, especially I saw that with lockdown, because I realized I'm in a lucky position where I can spend more time with my kids now and work. Now, it may mean that I have to get up very early in the morning and work before they wake up. And then when they go to bed, I might be working a little bit later. But it does mean I get to see them during the day more than my dad ever did, because he would leave 6:30, 5 o'clock in the morning and he'd be gone all day and then he'd come back. But he physically had to be there, or computers. We didn't have the technology. Now, you know, if it's just a bit of admin on emails, you can do stuff on your phone. You know, the kids are running around and you get to just be around them sometimes. But, you know, Jason, you know, they're watching TV for 10 minutes. You can just write a couple of emails out and do these kind of things and just stay on top of things. But I think we are luckier because we can build things in our own time and around sort of schedules.
You are, but I said this to Jason every time we talk about things like this, and I'll say this to you, Richard. This is from an old man who's been through it all. That's correct. And it is better than nothing. But you can never beat your quality time, your attention. Your kids aren't bothered about how much you're making or what your business is doing. They're bothered about showing you what they're doing. And the problem I've got with stuff like this is, and I've been through it firsthand, and I were horrific at it. But yeah, it's good that. You're not. I always say to people, you've got to have that quality time with your family because you'll regret it at some point. Maybe not at the time. At some point, you will regret it. And I always say, be careful. There's a balance somewhere, and it's finding that balance. And it's hard. And I regret a lot of what I did around my kids' early ages. A lot. It was for the good of my kids, but.
There's no doubt you did it for the right reason. In the same way Richard does his things for the right reason, the same way I do things because I fully believe that the hard work I'm putting in is for the greater good of the family, kids, giving them a better future. But you also sacrifice a lot, and you know you're working till silly o'clock every night, or you're doing this, you're doing that, you have to go here, you have to stay overnight somewhere else. Like, I like the fact I can come home every night. I like on the road reps and stuff, they stay in hotels overnight, and I'm thinking, they're not at home. They're not seeing the kids. I'm like, that doesn't seem right to me. I like the fact I can always come home. I can always be in my bed and always be around. And that's the one thing I've always wondered watching these YouTubers. They're always working 24 hours a day and but they've got a wife and kids. I'm thinking, man, are you just not going to get pissed off at some point?
No, more importantly, the partner's not going to get
well, this is it.
the arguments that they must have. It must be unreal.
I am, incredibly lucky, and she'll be in bed now. It's 10 o'clock, but Soph is incredibly understanding and forgiving of. She understands what we do, why we do it. She helps me. She helps produce this. She helps set things up. She does my newsletter. She does the magazine. She helps. She understands it. She knows why we do it. She knows why I work so hard. I assume, Richard, your wife, thinks the same. But let's face it, we all know doing this how much we all sacrifice.
Yeah.
And if there was a way to do this and work less and earn the same and see more of us kids, God, we'd do it. But all I'm thinking is watching these YouTubers going, like, he's produced some videos. I go back to Ryan Cerner. He's done an LA tour of all these houses. He must have been there a week.
Yeah, I know.
But he's not been. So that means he's not been at home for a week. He's not seen his kids for a week or his wife. Or what does that do to your family unit?
No, that's you're right. That's the one thing I don't really. I understand the grind, and I think it's there's a change there. I think families are different, and I suppose at the same time, video chat is now better than it ever has been. And there is that way of connecting and seeing kids like never before. So if you are away, literally there will be some times next year where I do have to stay away from home, and if it's a night or two, I will have to do something like that. But unlike you, Jason, I really like being at home, and I've been lucky to do that all my working life so far. But it's I don't know if you've seen this, but have you watched Richard Hammond's new series on Discovery about his workshop that he started?
No, I haven't.
So this is really interesting because he's now started up a workshop with a father and son team. He's bought their company, and he's basically produced. He's put them in a brand new unit. He's put $250,000 into this place. I won't spoil it for anyone. I recommend everyone do it. If you like Clarkson's Farm, it's a different version of this. But the biggest take from it is that I think his net worth is something like 45 million.
Richard Hammond.
To do that, and to do that, you're literally in some of the videos, and if you watch, there's Drive Tribe on YouTube.
I've watched that. Yeah, Drive Tribe is brilliant.
So he's literally they're making videos of him walking around his gardens, and massive, lovely place. And he said, I genuinely don't know this place very well. He said, I've spent so many years, and where he made his money with Top Gear, but he said, I missed out on my kids. He said, we moved into this house 13, 14 years ago. And he said, I don't know it. And he said, it's so strange to me actually going to work at the workshop and then coming home in the evening and seeing my family and my wife. And I was sort of thinking, wow, I can see. And you put that into perspective. If someone said to you, look, you could have 45 million if you stay away from your family for 10 years.
Nah.
I don't know if, I think that's the choice he made. And now he's finally set.
Somebody posed me that question, Richard. Flat no.
There you go.
Take
you see the value.
I'm not having that.
The thing you see with a lot of people with money, they do say that.
Stay away from you for 45 million.
What? You said that again?
With Sophie.
Soap and Spence and stay away from you for 45 million.
Yeah. Definitely the other way from my family. Stay away for 10 years. We'll have the 45.
But what are you sacrificing? And this is why. I mean, I don't want to go down this particular route because it's. But you look at why people don't last, whether it's relationships or families and divorce, and you think about, does work get involved or the fact you don't spend enough time with each other? It's like, what good is money when you've pissed everyone off and you're on your own?
The biggest thing that I've seen as well, there's some people that I follow, and some of them have made lots of money. They've got to where they are. And they found out that money didn't change anything. They went and bought their car that they wanted, they dreamed of. And what they actually found was it was the journey that kept them going. And when they got there, almost all of them become depressed. Because they feel like it happens with a lot with Olympians and things like that. When they've competed and they've won a gold, what now? They've trained all their lives for this moment. And yes, a bit of money comes from it with sponsorships and things like that. But then, the amount of people that say they're depressed once they've got money is ridiculous.
That's why I don't like the comment, make hay while the sun shines. It's like everyone gets that. Everyone knows that. Or because there was a period a few months ago where some of these podcasts were dominated by talk about, people's mental health, and a lot of people are struggling. And we'll be honest, there are a lot of people struggling. This year has taken its toll big
100%.
time.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, oh, well, make hay while the sun shines, make as much money you can. It's like, that's a very easy thing to say when you're in a good position. The person who's depressed and feeling like shit and is tired and is worried about stuff, they might be making 150 grand a year for all you know. It don't make them any happier.
No.
And they might be sacrificing on seeing their wife, their kids, their husband. What good is all that money in the bank if you're sat there going, I hate this? What good is that?
You look on my Facebook, I've got a quote on there, and it says, and that's part of what we're talking about now. Life's a journey, not a destination.
Correct.
I love that saying. It's all part of your journey. It's the biggest part of your life.
Samantha,
it's about your journey, on it.
Samantha Hill on YouTube on comments. How much is enough money? Is the other problem?
I would say about £230 million.
You had that in the bank ready to go.
To be exact. I think I could comfortably not really care at that point.
Yeah.
Anything less.
I reckon I could make £230 million work. I reckon I could make that work. What about you? Could you live off that, Richard?
I don't know. It depends. Would I get a Lamborghini in every colour for that?
I'm hoping that that there's a crypto burst of whatever I'm holding, and I can one day look at that. Although we did have, when I looked at the cryptocurrency last week, my coins were worth $21 million per coin.
Yeah, only due to a technical error, though.
I was a billionaire for half an hour.
Should have cashed out.
It was quite disappointing. I weren't that excited.
Well, look, it's 10:15, so I reckon if we finish at 10:30, so why don't we round out the last 15 minutes or so with something a bit more festive, a bit more light-hearted, and then we'll let Richard go to bed. Because...
You know what we should have done?
What?
We should have had some mince pies at the ready, and even though I don't like mince pies, we've been watching a mince pie eating competition on Sunday.
Wait.
No one wants to see that.
Somebody on the periphery of our industry has been doing a couple of challenges things, and it's quite good. But we should have had a challenge. But
you know what? There is sort of like man versus food. Have you watched those things?
Yeah, I used to love it.
It's fascinating. There's a new younger chap, Beard Meets Food. I do watch some of his videos once in a while if they pop up. You're right. There is something there.
I mean,
that guy is from round my neck of woods. Beard Meets Food lives about 20 minutes from me.
Does he?
Yep.
There's somebody.
You ever seen him walking around?
Culture at the moment, an old geezer, and he's literally got his phone or a camera, like a cheap camera, and he's
the takeaway guy.
He's getting a breakfast at all these different cafes, and he takes his own table. So like from just like if you have
seen him,
and from people's houses. So he'll put his table and chair outside their house and review the breakfast outside their house. It's taking on. It's gone massive. There's loads of people.
This is the thing, and it's the best example of maybe company content, but it's still. Have you ever seen? Did I mention it? Asheville Weekly. Have you ever heard of that YouTube channel? It's this guy. He's got an aggregates company. He's got like 3 companies in one, and every week he's invested in video that much. He's got a full production team. He's got like 2 or 3 videographers and editors, and then all week they film. He stands in front of it. He puts it down as branding. But every week, I don't know. He's got over 100,000, maybe 200,000 subscribers. He just released a video the other day, and he gets at least 40, 50,000 views on it, and it brings in quotes and things like that. But people are so interested in it that there's so many comments I can't explain. And he's gone in it.
What's the company called?
Asheville. He's called
Asheville Aggregates.
Aggregates.
Oh God, it's a suggested. Wow. Okay.
I first came across his video because he did a very smart marketing thing. He put a skip in London and allowed people to fill it up. It's one of his own skips. Allowed people to fill it up for free. He just put a sign on it, and it took him like so many days. And then he finally put a sign on it to say free. And then they put a camera on it, obviously, and it was just content, and it was so interesting to see like people coming, literally people driving up, emptying out their cars.
Is that the one he's just done?
He did that. That was quite a while ago. He's on about 62 episodes now of the weekly one.
The most recent video, so he's got 324,000 subscribers.
There you go.
Right, Lee, I'll take back to this point. If a construction company just doing construction can get 300,000 followers, a fenestration company can. I'm telling you.
There's electricians doing their daily work, 100,000.
There you go.
Multiple.
His last video uploaded a day ago has already got 132,000 views.
That kind of, and this is why, just simple concepts. He didn't start off with the videography team. He started off with sort of that guy there with his phone and a table and just sort of going around, but consistently.
That's the thing, is the consistency. The more you do, the gradually the gettier, more polished you'll be, and you'll get that following.
I think if you move, it depends which way you go with how you want to, because it all comes down, marketing comes down to revenue in it from your point of view.
Yeah. No, I agree with that.
You can't do it for free. Well, you can if you're rich, or if you've got it, if it's pastime. But I think you've got to make a decision, and I think the only way you get that many subscribers is by concentrating on content only for subscribers, which means you cannot go down the creating of content route for suppliers, because you've got to be neutral and impartial if you get that sort of content, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Be big. So I think if you go in, this is what I was saying about it's hard. You'd have to be prolific in creating content with no revenue, but to make it that interesting. Do I think it can be done in a lot of industries? Yes. Ours is particularly tough because it isn't really the most interesting industry to a consumer. Some of it is, but how many nice projects can you show without it being samey?
It doesn't need to be that many, but it just needs some to catch people's attention. This is where we're going wrong. Nobody cares about a white PVC front door. Lots of people will care about the self-build project with huge triangular shaped windows made of slimline aluminium, which looks epic on a £5 million house. That's what gets you the views. No one gives a toss about a white PVC door on a semi-detached house.
But there is an argument to say, if you do film that on someone's house, that person cares.
That person might care, but...
And if they've got 100,000 followers, it might work.
But you got to get to that point. What I'm saying is, if you're going to grab that attention, YouTube, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok are all very visual platforms, and you're going to grab people's attention with the more spectacular stuff. That's why the house tours work. You haven't got house tour videos of a 2-bedroom terraced house with 15 million views. You have got a house tour video of 8 bedrooms, 3 acres, a pool, and a helipad. That's the difference. And then, when you've got the following, then you can introduce it. It's how
when you're doing a wider project, it's not just windows and doors.
I still think there's a route where you can have creators which... I mean, okay, so aluminium's a good route for this. Whether it's Alu-K, Shuko, Garnalex, or whatever. I watched a video today from Eric Conover. Do you follow him on YouTube? Eric Conover. So he's a bit like Ryan Serhant, but he does other things as well. He mentioned Shuko aluminium sliding doors in a €15 million property in Spain.
Ooh.
Exactly. Now, if you can start breaking into that particular niche, that's a very good little thread of opportunity.
Did that look sponsored, or was that genuine?
No, in Europe, Schuco have a particularly strong brand association. They sponsor a lot of stuff. So I suspect when Eric did the pre-tour, so that's when they go around the house, figuring out the house before they film it, the real estate agent will have told him this is the brand of windows, this is the brand of doors, da, da, da. So what he was doing was about a third of the way in, he mentioned, we've got these Schuco glass doors, which da, 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 but he mentioned it by brand name. Now this is where I get the hope that if Fenestration can start breaking through like that, we'll be seen in a different light.
That is its own conversation, isn't it? That's the branding. And talking with a few companies, some are actually getting that if people are walking through the doors and saying, I want this company's doors, windows, I don't want anything else. And we get to that. And like you say, you've said it before, we talked about this, about America and Europe, they're all ahead of us with branding. Because, if you walk to anyone in the street and say, name a double glazing company, they'll probably say Everest, they'll probably say SafeStar because they've seen an advert from them. But they wouldn't tell you anything about the product.
No.
They wouldn't be able to tell you what profile it was, who made it.
But that video today is what gives me hope about, right, okay, that
guy
he's
coming.
Has just toured a €15 million house and mentioned the door brand by name. That's why I still think we've got a way to get into that niche.
But that will be through this kind of content.
Agreed.
Through people like us, as opposed to companies. Because you're right, you said that they can't, it can't be them.
It's there. The opportunity.
Schuco had made that video. People go, this is the, it's finding that line between sponsorship and just.
Well, that wasn't sponsored. It was just he'd been given,
which is nice, the
brief of the house. He was told what products are in it, and he just mentioned it within the video. So, and that's it. That he wasn't told to say it. He wasn't paid to say it. It was just that was the brand of windows and doors.
That's powerful. That is so
very
powerful.
Very. So
that's what you've got when you get to subscriber levels that they've got. They're not bothered about the brand. It comes back down to what I've just said. Your revenue is coming more from your views and your subscriber levels.
Well, that particular video, just bearing in mind it's only been out a few days. Let's have a look. Subscriptions. Eric Conover. That's been out one day. 46,000 views. So, in a week's time, in a month's time, you're looking at 6-figure views on that particular video.
It's basically just a different version of influencers because companies have been using influencers for years. Whether that, if we took a footballer and said, we'll give you these doors, which is, it's happened for years. This is why companies have used famous people as an ambassador for their company. It's always been around. We're just doing it in a different way now with influencers. And now YouTubers are built up to the point where they are classed as authorities in their industry. And
let's face it, if I'm Schuco and I stumble across Eric Conover's video, they'll go, bloody hell, you mentioned our doors by name, unprompted. What's to say Schuco don't now approach Eric Conover and say, oh, we've seen you mention our product before. Do you want to do a bit of a sponsorship deal? That's how these things work. So, well, oh God, we need.
People like one more mention of stuff like this.
Go on, and then we have to get festive before we end. Go on.
Yeah, we do have to get sorry.
No, don't be sorry, for God's sake. No, don't be sorry.
There's a guy called Bootlegger. You'll like this, Jason. And basically, he's got now 52,400 subscribers.
Right.
And all it is a middle-aged man who walks around drunk talking about his day and beer and real ale and is a Wrexham fan.
To be fair, I feel like I could do that. I feel like I could be a good fit for that particular job.
But he did all sorts. He was doing like brewery tours and testing beers. His content's changed.
Oh, I might hit him up and see if he wants a partner. I like this in the comments, Lee. Fradders, one day they'll be asking for Vitrine Alu by name. That's the spirit. That's what you want. That's what we need. To be fair, Fradders and Dwayne, his business partner, I've never seen an energy around two people running a business like that in my life. The industry needs more Fradders and Dwaynes. Jesus, if you saw them at the winners event, you could power the room off their energy levels. It was insane. Love
Yeah.
those guys. But no. So to end on a festive note, how is Richard spending his Christmas this year?
At my parents actually this year. We sort of take it in turns. We sort of 1 year it's my wife's parents, and then so this year it works out with it's my parents. So Christmas Eve we're having a meal with Sophie's parents,
Okay.
and then Christmas Day we're at my mum and dad's.
Any Boxing Day traditions, or do you just recover
No,
from the night before?
It's funny you mention that. No, it used to be if it was the because we're doing Christmas Eve. Otherwise, we'd usually go to the other house on Boxing Day. Gone are the days where we used to. There used to be a clubhouse that we all used to go to years ago. Doughty's Clubhouse. Anyone that's from Tewkesbury or Gloucestershire will know about Doughty's. And that was a thing where everyone would go to the Doughty Clubhouse on a Boxing Day, and everyone would just have a few drinks. From a kid's point of view, it's kind of annoying because if you had toys, you couldn't take them because it was just a pub and it's a clubhouse. But yeah, so that's what we're doing this year.
How old are your kids now?
6 and just over 2.
Okay.
So good ages. They really enjoy it. I think William, he's still a little bit too young to understand what's going on, but he just loves people being around and he'll charge around like anything. But what about you two?
Lee, what's your plans?
Christmas Day, I'm going over to see the kids unwrap the presents, and then I'm coming home, getting probably drunk. Usually, on Boxing Day, I would be out with friends doing something, but I think it's probably going to be low key with COVID and stuff.
Yes. On me Christmas.
New Year's Eve, I've got the kids with me, so we're gonna have a little party, New Year's Eve party.
Oh, that'd be nice.
Some party food. I've got them some masks to wear, Mr. Blobby masks.
Oh, I was gonna say, different type of party there.
We can make a TikTok video.
Yes, do a TikTok.
So we're just gonna have a little party, put a bit of music on. Hopefully there'll be fireworks around here somewhere.
Yeah.
I'm not buying any because I'm tight.
We don't buy any because all our neighbours have dogs and I don't want to piss them off.
Oh, yeah.
But no, we've got my mum's coming around for Christmas dinner, and then we've got my in-laws after that. So mum and dad are coming out later on that afternoon. Boxing Day, we usually try and get out somewhere. Boxing Day, try and blow some cobwebs out and work off some of the food and booze.
Oh, nice, yeah.
The night before, but I don't know where we're going to go. But we went somewhere yesterday, quite muddy. So we try and get out somewhere, try and do something. New Year's, I've got no idea what we're doing New Year's. I don't. Yeah. Well, I don't think. By the looks of it, I don't think we're going to have to go out anyway, because I think they're probably going to shut pubs and stuff. But I don't know. Last time, Spencer were 18 months old, so fireworks woke him up, so we were up anyway. I don't know.
I always like watching Jules Holland on New Year's.
Jules Holland's Hootenanny.
Right, that's I always watch that.
Jules Holland's Hootenanny's been on since the days of Jesus. That's been on since forever. Is that?
Fireworks. By that point, I'm usually drunk and singing.
I don't know what they're going to do because they've cancelled fireworks and they're not doing New Year's Eve this year at London.
Oh, wow. No, I didn't know that.
So there's no fireworks again. I don't know. According to so from what I've read, according to lockdown rules, the only people you'll be able to meet is outdoors in the garden.
Oh, back in time.
Yeah. So they're on about step 2 type restrictions coming back in. So, I don't know. I suppose if you've got a fire pit, you could get away with asking two or three friends to come around and do a fire pit kind of thing. But you'd have to put up with being cold.
I can't even have a party in my hot tub because it's broke.
No. Why is your hot tub broke?
Eating things bust. Needs a replacement.
Rubbish. Well, it's 10:30. We've taken up far too much of Richard's time.
No, not at all. Taking up your time.
I want to thank Richard for coming on. And I tell you what, I want to thank every person. There's a lot of thank yous coming here. So I want to thank every person who's read, retweeted, commented on DGB. I want to thank any person who's voted, nominated, spread the word on the NFAs. I want to thank all the companies who have taken part in Fenex. I want to thank all the visitors to Fenex. And all the viewers and the watchers and the commenters on our podcast this year, because without all of your participation, without all of your input and feedback and votes and nominations and sponsorship and all this stuff, none of this works. None of this happens, and it's an absolutely massive honour to be able to do all of this for you. So I want to thank all of you guys for all of that, because it's been a hard year, it's been a tough year, but I think it's been one of the best years as well, in many ways. So, Lee, I don't know, have you got any thank yous for anybody?
Yeah, I want to thank my mum and dad for making me so to be here today.
He's not even had a drink and that's coming out.
I accidentally made me. But
oh my God!
If it weren't for them,
what he's saying there is he's a miracle.
Yeah.
Oh, he's a miracle. Oh, he's a miracle.
But if it weren't for that accident, he wouldn't have had me here today. So I want to thank them.
Oh my God!
I want to thank God. I want to thank Father Christmas for inventing Christmas. No, seriously. In all seriousness, it's been a tough year for everyone. Anyone who's been involved with us, anyone who gives us the time of day to engage with us, it's been a pleasure. Fen Digital customers as well, because Jason always forgets Fen Digital. So I better mention that. But Richard, no, it's been a pleasure this year, and it's been we've had different people come on. We've got I tell you what, we've got a band of loyal watchers on this. The same people who come on pretty much every time. But we've had a lot of different people coming on from.
We've had some cracking guests.
We have people on that we've never seen before.
Yeah.
And it happens quite a lot. So it's like I said, it's nice to get to talk to everyone. Richard, it's been a pleasure talking to you. It's a completely different angle tonight. Marketing, content. I've enjoyed this more than a lot of the others because this is what I enjoyed myself. It's my job. So I've enjoyed it tonight. It's been good. But all as guests, we've had some cracking guests this year.
We've had some fantastic guests this year. Richard, is there anyone you want to thank while you've got the platform to do so before we head out?
You both for two reasons. One, for having me on this, but also for your support, because both of you, throughout all of my, whatever this is, my journey, you've both been so supportive, and it's really nice to have that as someone that's already in, So yeah, I really appreciate you helping me along.
Oh, listen, as I said before, I think anyone who's trying something new and trying to break through, we've had the fight, we've done it before. We owe it to anyone trying to come in to welcome them in, rather than be like everybody else and fight it. It's a much nicer place to be if people are welcoming. So you're absolutely welcome. I hope you stick with it, and I hope you get your followers, you make the imprint and you make your mark and you do your thing, and I hope you're successful with it, because that's what life is all about. Life's about trying to be successful together rather than fight against it. Frad is in the comments. You guys have been an inspiration, and Victory and Ali wouldn't be alive without a lockdown on this podcast. Oh, you're too kind, Paul. I appreciate you. Big love to you. And in the same breath, if there was more people like Fradders and Dwayne, this world would be a better place. So, cheers, buddy. Well, look,
it's a pleasure, but this is what we were just saying to end on that note. People like Richard coming into industry, people like Fradders that they were in industry already, both of you, and you're doing new things. For me, and I've never understood this. I've come from this industry likes to infight. And I don't think I'm being horrible saying that. It's just people like to infight. They've got their own rivals, and there's not a lot of help. They don't rally round each other. I've always worked in bigger industries with bigger companies, where the ethos was what you share multiplies and grows. And I'm a big believer in that. I think that the more people work with each other, the better it gets. And I don't think there's enough for it. So
No, listen, this industry, this world's big enough for all of us. There's a piece of the pie for everybody. There's no need to be defensive. The more you work together, the more you get. It's as simple as that. Well, look, we'll leave it there. Richard, have a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year with all your family.
And you both. You both.
Lee, big love to you.
Yeah, Merry Christmas, everyone. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to all our followers.
Merry Christmas, everyone watching.
And happy, prosperous 2022.
And be safe, everybody. Have a very Merry Christmas, and we'll be back in the new